Chapter 11:29. Total nitrogen anionic salt N5 DAT. Using this as the main material to create a high-energy explosive, the theoretical upper limit of its explosive power could reach up to 10 times that of TNT. Of course, 10 times was just an ideal value, but even a few times was good enough to show its terrifying power. It didn't just destroy the corridor, it even destroyed the rest of the medical station in an instant. The billowing thick smoke and the crazy airflow after the explosion instantly knocked away the surrounding thick fog, and at the same time, the surrounding area was dyed gray and black. It couldn't be said that Gong Sun Woo didn't suffer any injuries. It could only be said that these injuries didn't cause much harm to him. Most of Gong Sun Woo's clothes had disappeared when he walked out of the thick smoke. He was almost naked. However, his exposed skin and flesh were intact. A steaming hot air slowly rose from Gong Sun Woo's body. He, who walked out of the raging flames, was more like a demon. Song Haoran climbed up from the ground helplessly. He still didn't die from the explosion, it seemed that there was no other way. His meridians were all broken, and he also suffered the impact of the explosion. At this moment, young Master Song could only be described as broken. He seemed to be somewhat unstable when standing up. Human's wisdom is really terrifying. Gong Sun Woo flashed in front of Song Haoran. Song Haoran didn't have any time or strength to react at this moment. Gong Sun Woo easily grabbed Song Haoran's forehead and lifted him up. If this good thing can be produced endlessly, even I can't bear it. Gong Sun Woo's fingers slightly exerted force, as if he could crush Song Haoran's forehead at any time. Song Haoran couldn't help but let out a low scream. But Gong Sun Woo soon loosened his grip and said indifferently, "Don't worry, I said I won't kill you, so I won't kill you. But you won't live for long. Soon, his honor will devour your flesh and blood, and you will survive in another way." But at this moment, Gong Sun Woo saw a strange smile on Song Haoran's face. Song Haoran's smile was not only strange, but he even laughed out loud. "What are you laughing at?" Gong Sun Woo snorted. "You're just bluffing." Song Haoran let out a pained laugh. "I don't know. Do you know how to write?" "You have a sharp tongue." Gong Sun Woo sneered. At this moment, Song Haoran suddenly waved his hand. Out of nowhere, a black dagger appeared in his hand. However, such a sneak attack had no effect on Gong Sun Woo. The dagger stabbed into Gong Sun Woo's chest, but it couldn't move an inch, as if it had stabbed into a steel plate. Isn't this against the rules?" Song Haoran said bitterly. Then, as if she didn't believe it, she stabbed him again, but this time, her strength was even weaker. Gong Sun Woo looked at the other parties struggle mockingly. At this moment, Song Haoran stabbed Gong Sun Woo with the dagger for the third time, but with less strength. He stabbed Gong Sun Woo in the same place again and again, but with less strength each time. Gong Sun Woo's physical strength had already reached its limit, and he was holding on with his tenacity. "You want to break the surface with a single point? Not a bad idea," Gong Sun Woo said indifferently, "but with such strength, you can't even scratch my itch. Give up." Gong Sun Woo was quite happy to see Song Haoran's desperate eyes, until Song Haoran's arm, which was holding the dagger, dropped down weakly. "What? You can't do it anymore?" Gong Sun Woo laughed grimly. Song Haoran breathed with difficulty, and his whole body was soaked with sweat. After using a lot of complicated martial arts beyond the limit of his body, his meridians were broken by Gong Sun Woo, and then he suffered the impact of the explosion. At this moment, the pain in his body had reached an inhuman level, and every second was a test of his will. Song Haoran's voice was intermittent, like a patient who had difficulty breathing. "Damn it! Who said that villains die because they talk too much?" Song Haoran seemed to have reached the limit of his physical strength and will. His body suddenly collapsed, and he knelt on the ground. His hands dropped down, and his fingers that were holding the dagger loosened. Even his arms were slightly trembling. He seemed to be trying his best to move his fingers. Then accept your fate. Gong Sun Woo grabbed Song Haoran's head again. Song Haoran suddenly said in a low voice, I am very selfish. If you want to get benefits from me, I guess you will have to wait until your next life. He raised his hand. Gong Sun Woo's first instinct was that Song Haoran was going to make another desperate fight, because Song Haoran kept trying to break his body's defense by stabbing the same place. But the moment the dagger was stabbed, it strangely didn't really stab. So far, the black dagger, which was out of Gong Sun Woo's calculation, moved in the opposite direction. The dagger actually moved in front of Song Haoran's neck. Suicide. A trace of blood suddenly appeared on Song Haoran's neck, and then the beating heart crazily pushed the blood out of the carotid artery. The moment the blood splashed on Gong Sun Woo roared angrily. So cruel! This guy's cruelty shocked Gong Sun Woo from the bottom of his heart. Song Haoran still had a strange smile on his face, but his body fell on the ground and kept twitching. His pupils were gradually dilating. Gong Sun Woo suddenly had an idea. He directly stretched out his hand and pressed Song Haoran's neck, intending to seal his wound with his true force. The cultivation method that the yellow-robed man practiced was stolen from the treasury of the Xianyuan Palace when he betrayed them and escaped. He had read it, but he didn't practice it. The sky-swallowing scripture of great desolation was very evil. Although it could bring him great strength, once he put his butcher's knife into the bloodline of the Gongsun clan, he was afraid that he would be killed by the whole Xianyuan Palace. Although he didn't practice it, it didn't hinder him from studying this evil cultivation method. After a person died, his flesh was still fresh, and his soul would stay in the flesh for a period of time. Although the effect was not as good, it was better than nothing. At this moment, Song Haoran's eyes had faded away. Gong Sun Woo shook his head and said helplessly, Boy, I beg you to hold on a little longer. Okay. What? In the blink of an eye, Song Haoran's dim eyes became clear again. This sudden change made Gong Sun Woo open his mouth in surprise. At this moment, Song Haoran quickly flicked his finger, and something seemed to be flicked directly into Gong Sun Woo's mouth. At the same time, Song Haoran attacked again, and punched Gong Sun Woo's chest. This punch was very strong, and it didn't seem like the power of a person with broken meridians. However, it was not enough to break Gong Sun Woo's physical defense, but it made Gong Sun Woo swallow the thing that was shot into his mouth subconsciously. Are you okay? At this time, Song Haoran sat up and made a gesture of farewell. Gong Sun Woo suddenly opened his eyes wide. At this moment, a violent energy directly exploded in his body. Gong Sun Woo raised his head and let out a shrill scream, and a pillar of fire spurted out from his mouth. After that, Gong Sun Woo slowly lowered his head, and stared at Song Haoran with his bull-like eyes. Song Haoran smiled bitterly. What kind of person is this? He swallowed a high-energy explosive, and the explosive exploded in his body, but his body didn't explode. Looking at the furious Gong Sun Woo, Song Haoran couldn't help but sigh, What do I have to do to make you die? But Song Haoran still tried his best to stay alert. He still had some resurrection tokens, so he would fight as hard as he could. Holding the dagger in front of him, Song Haoran took a deep breath, and his arm gradually turned fiery red. But at this time, Gong Sun Woo was still motionless. Song Haoran was stunned. At this time, blood gushed out from Gong Sun Woo's eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. After that, he directly fell down. After a while, Song Haoran whistled and lifted Gong Sun Woo's arm with his leg. Seeing that Gong Sun Woo had no reaction, he let out a long sigh of relief. Silly Chong, Tiger Head, Alex, Potter, Wind, Chun Kai, Amani, Bullet, Knife. I've avenged you. If you have another life, don't follow me anymore. At this time, a trace of silver smoke gushed out from Gong Sun Woo's body, and then, as if attracted by something, rushed to Song Haoran's chest, rushed into the sun god badge he wore. At the same time, Song Howren also felt that something was violently stuffed into his head. It seemed to be a group of pictures. A naked young man, practicing boxing under a waterfall, the Gongsun Wua. His whole life, the Sun God badge seemed to have appeared, or it had unlocked a new ability. The yellow-robed man and Princess Chuyang looked at each other, and neither of them moved first, or they were confronting each other. After a long time, two figures floated down from the thick fog and landed on both sides of the collapsed medical station, also confronting each other. They were Gong Fanqing and Qin Chu. They didn't look good. Qin Chu's face was slightly pale, and there was a bloody wound on her shoulder. The blood dyed her white clothes red. And Gong Fanqing's hair bun was shaved off, and there was a shocking wound on her face. Her left arm was hanging down, and blood kept dripping from her fingertips. At this time, the four people and four corners formed a strange look at each other. "Everyone is here?" A casual voice suddenly broke this strange atmosphere, and at the same time, attracted everyone's attention. Song Howren walked out slowly from a broken wall. "You're not dead." Princess Chuyang looked at this evil man in disbelief. "I'm lucky." Song Howren shrugged, and then threw something out. It was Gongsun Wua's body. At this moment, the corpse rolled into the huge pit. The yellow-robed man and Gong Fanqing looked at Gongsun Wua's body, which had fallen into the pit. Their expressions changed slightly. This big pit was made by Gongsun Wua's fist, but now he buried himself. It was like digging his own grave, full of irony. It wasn't difficult for them to understand the malice in Song Howren's behavior. Princess Chuyang frowned. She was born with a special ability, and her spiritual power was very strong, so she could attach her spirit to Song Howren and drive him to fight with Gongsun Wua. When her consciousness left Song Howren's body, she was very clear about the body's condition at that time. But at this time, Song Howren's essence, qi, and spirit were more abundant than before. It was as if he had been reborn. Gong Fanqing looked at the yellow-robed man in an instant, revealing a dignified expression. The yellow-robed man just kept silent. Song Howren looked at Qin Chu at this time. "Miss, shall we join hands?" Qin Chu didn't answer, but just looked at Song Howren indifferently, and then fixed her eyes on Gong Fanqing again. What's your name?" At this time, the yellow-robed man suddenly asked. He was looking at Song Howren. Young Master Song raised his eyebrows. "Song Howren." The yellow-robed man was silent for a moment and then nodded. "The royal family doesn't need useless bloodlines. Since you can kill Gongsun Wua, I admit you're qualified to stay. There are two of my descendants nearby. They're your relatives, right?" Song Howren's expression gradually turned cold, and a strange wave suddenly broke out from his body. The yellow-robed man waved his hand. "Don't worry, I allow you to stay, and naturally I'll also allow you to have the right to keep your relatives. They can give birth to such excellent descendants, it's also a credit. Live well. I'm looking forward to it." After saying this, the yellow-robed man turned around and left. Seeing this, Gong Fanqing chuckled. "Little girl, today you have the advantage of weapon. Without this green lotus sword, I wonder how many moves you can take from me? Want to escape?" Qin Chu snorted coldly. "I'll play with you another day." Gong Fanqing rushed up to the sky, and then pressed her palm down with great momentum. Qin Chu waved her sword, and the sword light swept everything away, but she had already lost the trace of Gong Fanqing. At their level, if they wanted to leave, they couldn't be stopped, unless they were prepared to fight to the death. Seeing Gong Fanqing disappear, Qin Chu frowned, and looked at Gongsun Wua's corpse in the pit. Then she put away her sword and rushed into the thick fog. Song Howren jumped to Princess Chuyang's side and suddenly asked, "Princess, you just let that guy go like this?" The Princess Chuyang had already taken her marquise bead back. After a long time, young Master Song didn't believe that Princess Chuyang hadn't recovered a little. "This guy is not worse than me," Princess Chuyang responded indifferently, and then turned around. "I'm tired, let's go back." After a long while, only 3 soldiers of the Song family walked out of the ruins, and came to Song Howren's side. Song Howren slightly heaved a sigh, pointing at the deep pit in front of them, and said expressionlessly, "Bury the bodies of Bullet and Xiao Dao in there. Someone will accompany them in the grave." "Your Honor, why did you let that guy go?" In the thick fog, Gong Fanqing stopped the bleeding, while asking the yellow-robed man. As for Gong Sun Wu's death, it didn't seem to be a big blow to her. "The dynasty is gone," the yellow-robed man said indifferently. "Although I forced myself to stay, the world has changed. The Emperor Qi on this guy is very strong, and the fate of the dynasty seems to be condensing on him. As long as he stays on the land of Kelowna, he may be able to awaken the dragon vein of our dynasty in the future." "Your Honor, what do you mean?" "I need him to stay and fight for me in the future." "But Your Honor, in your current situation." Chapter 1130. TV, live webcasts, and news stations. For half a month, they were all occupied by the same thing. In the video, the howling cold wind kept hitting the microphone in the hands of the reporters at the scene. The man was holding a blurry microphone in his hand. He was sitting in a helicopter that had already opened the cabin door. The camera was aimed at the large expanse of thick fog below. "Now, I am at the edge of the fog outbreak area, more than 230 kilometers away from the center of the fog outbreak area. You can see from the camera that the thickness of the fog continues to erupt. Not only in China but also abroad continued to pay attention. In Europe, in a riverside hotel on the Danube River, a black-haired man in his 30s was wiping gun parts at this time. At this time, he was watching everything that was happening in the distant eastern country on the internet TV. At this time, a younger man, holding a bag of food in his hand, opened the door and said in not very fluent Chinese, "Mr. Yi Yan, it's time for lunch. What are you watching?" The man, Yi Yan, at this time skillfully reassembled the parts at this time. Soon, a silver pistol was assembled. He directly inserted it into the holster of his vest. The thick fog incident in China. Yi Yan looked at the young man in front of him. Jaeger, the guy he brought back from the Siberian plateau to become his new partner. Jaeger was originally just a small agent in Moscow. He never thought that one day he would become a member of the Interpol. In the past half a year, he had completed several missions with Yi Yan. After more than half a year of training, both his experience and courage had changed dramatically. He chewed on the baguette while thinking, "Mr. Yi Yan, this is your motherland, right? You are very worried, right?" Yi Yan said indifferently, "My motherland has the best rescue team in the world and the government in the world that values the people's lives and property the most in the world. What I am worried about is what is behind this thick fog." Jaeger frowned. "Mr. Yi Yan, could it be that you have relatives and friends in this disaster area?" Yi Yan shook his head. "That is not the case. They are all further south, so they should not appear in the disaster area. It is just that this fog is too strange. I heard that there is a very special magnetic field in the fog. Any electronic device is useless inside it, and it is still spreading. If we cannot stop it from spreading and let it continue to spread..." Igor soon realized the serious problem. The thick fog covering the land of Cathay had already exceeded 200 kilometers in diameter. This was basically the total area of some of the smaller countries in the world. At this time, Jaeger comforted him. "Just as you said, Mr. Yi, your country has the best rescue and the best government, right? Now, several important leaders of your motherland have cancelled their state visits and returned to China to support the rescue work. Don't worry, this matter will definitely be resolved." "I hope so." Yi Yan nodded and put on his jacket. "Where are you going?" Jaeger could not help but stare blankly. Yi Yan stood in front of the door and said casually, "Walking around." "Don't you want to eat lunch?" "I already ate." The sound of the door closing. Jaeger was stunned. Then, as if he had thought of something, he quickly ran into the living room of the suite. He saw several empty plates on the dining table. Jaeger's hands trembled as he looked at the bill on the plate. This was his bill. Oh God, he is simply a devil. My salary! At this time, on the laptop video website that had not yet been closed, the reporter who was on the scene in a helicopter suddenly received a message. According to the latest information received, the current spread of the thick fog has stopped. Will it stop and then disperse, or will it suddenly continue to spread? For more details, please continue to pay attention to the real-time report of this station. For 2 consecutive days, Mr. Blind did not appear. He had been calculating the exact location of the 7th Jade Dragon Pillar. After a short period of recuperation, the fire cloud evil god had already recovered. During this time, he had been guarding the courtyard, not allowing anyone to approach. Even Yen Xiaoxi could only talk outside the courtyard. At this time, a piece of news that excited the people of the Tao world came. Taoist Master 100 Tribulations had returned. In fact, during these 2 days, a large number of Tao demons had also returned to the thick fog area and rushed to the Crouching Dragon Villa to gather. Among them, there were even many disciples of the Tao sects and members of the demon clan who had not participated in the Penglai conference this time. They had noticed what was happening in the thick fog and had rushed over at top speed. At the moment, the number of Tao demons in the Crouching Dragon Villa, excluding the people from the Administrative Bureau, had exceeded 1,000. Furthermore, they were all capable Taoists and demons. Because perfected Huanyang had left the Penglai treasure vault earlier than Taoist Master 100 Tribulations, he had arrived at the Crouching Dragon Villa much earlier than Taoist Master 100 Tribulations. At this moment, the people of the Tao world, led by perfected Huanjin, stood at the entrance of the Crouching Dragon Villa to welcome Taoist Master 100 Tribulations, the president of the Tao Association. President, it's really great that you can come back safely. Perfected Huanyang looked excited. Due to his age, Taoist Master 100 Tribulations had practically watched the few generations of Tao world Taoists grow up. Although they belonged to different sects, Taoist Master 100 Tribulations was selfless and would often preach the Tao on the Kunlun mountain. He would not leave the threshold and would go to all the Tao sections. It could be said that more than half of the Tao World Tao Association's Taoists were half-teachers with Taoist Master 100 Tribulations. Yes, President. President, it's really great that you're safe. Taoist Master 100 Tribulations, who was surrounded by people, could not help but feel excited. However, this was not the time to reminisce. At this moment, everyone realized that Taoist Master 100 Tribulations had not returned empty-handed. Behind him was a young man, and on the young man's shoulder was a black-clothed, bronze-masked man. President, what is this? Perfected Huanyang quickly noticed the black-robed man who had fainted. Taoist Master 100 Tribulations said solemnly, Taoist Huanyang, please gather everyone. I have some important matters to discuss with everyone immediately. Upon seeing Taoist Master 100 Tribulations' solemn expression, Taoist Huanyang did not dare to hesitate. Soon, all the important figures of the demon clan, including Yen Xiaoxi, the Tao Association's stewards, Purple Star, Song Jinshui, and the others, were all present. Among them, only Huang Baifu of the White Tiger clan and Xiao Xingma of the Ghost clan did not appear. However, the White Tiger clan had a commander who represented them. As for the Ghost clan, they were not present. Most people understood the Ghost clan. Due to the uniqueness of their clan, the Ghost clan basically did not appear during the day and rarely left Fengdu Ghost City. And for this Penglai conference, only Xiao Xingma came from Ghost City. Logically speaking, young Master Huang should have come out earlier than me. Taoist 100 Tribulations frowned. Perhaps he has other matters to attend to. However, I believe that young Master Huang should appear soon after such a big event. White Tiger Clan, please be patient. President 100 Tribulations, may I know why you gathered us in such a hurry? Ming Tushan was the most senior among the demon clans present. He asked frankly, I heard that you caught a black-robed man? Everyone, please listen to me. Taoist 100 Tribulations took out a dark red bead from his sleeve. Immediately, a dense life force was emitted from the bead, and within this dense life force, there was also a terrifying evil aura. What is this? It's so evil. Taoist Huanyang's expression changed slightly. Taoist 100 Tribulations' expression was solemn. This is a soul bead. To refine this soul bead, tens of thousands or even tens of thousands of dead lives are required. This is what I took from a group of black-robed men on my way to Crouching Dragon Villa. However, they were refining this thing on the spot. What? As soon as these words were spoken, it alarmed all the Tao demons present here, and many even stood up. Taoist 100 Tribulations continued. This is only one of them. There are more soul beads that have been successfully refined and sent away. Their ultimate goal is to refine an evil magic weapon called Million Soul Bead. Million. Everyone immediately sucked in a cold breath. 1,000,000 souls, 1,000,000 people. Almost at the same time, they all secretly observed Yen Xiaoxi's expression. The Tao demons had an agreement with the country, and that agreement was not just written in black and white. 1,000,000 souls, 1,000,000 people, this was far, far beyond the bottom line of this agreement. What was worse was that no matter what the 71st generation heavens will wanted to do, no matter what the men in black wanted to do, they were still part of the Tao Yao. Perhaps the Tao demons and Tao demons could see this as an internal conflict, but in the eyes of this country, they were all one. In the silent and oppressive atmosphere, Yen Xiaoxi finally said slowly, Taoist 100 Tribulations, is this true? Taoist 100 Tribulations nodded. The black-robed man that I brought back had his intelligence sealed by me. You can ask him yourself later. Yen Xiaoxi nodded and then looked around. Everyone, at this moment, the Bureau will make a decision after verifying everything. Currently, the situation has escalated, so I hope that everyone will not panic. The location of the 7th Jade Dragon Pillar will be confirmed soon. Tian Xian's 71st generation has obviously lost his mind. So I hope that everyone present will not be swayed. Yen Xiaoxi had also sensed what the Tao demons present were thinking. At this moment, she did not try her best to appease them. However, who would be in the mood to listen to such words of appeasement without any promises? This impromptu meeting did not last long before everyone dispersed. A few Tao demons gathered in private. In a corner of the Crouching Dragon Mountain Villa, Song Jinshui, Chu Xinghe, Zixing, Ming Tushan, and a White Tiger commander were present. 1,000,000 souls. 1,000,000 lives. No one can bear the responsibility for this. Ming Tushan was the first to speak. Everyone, since you are here, I believe that you all know what to do. What we should be thinking about now is not how to stop Tian Xian, but how to protect ourselves. Chu Xinghe nodded and said softly, That's right. Elder Ming is right. At this point, regardless of whether the spirit qi is successfully restored or not, in this situation where 1,000,000 people died tragically, I'm afraid that we have truly angered the imperial court. I can imagine that the imperial court will do this to prevent the same tragedy from happening in the future. I'm afraid. Afraid of what? The White Tiger commander rubbed his head in frustration. Make yourself clear. Humph, as expected, the master has the soldiers according to his use. Song Jinshui snorted. Huang Baifu is brainless, and so are the subordinates. Song Jinshui, have you forgotten how your father was hung up? Don't think that I won't beat you up just because you are the Green Dragon clan leader. The commander roared angrily. Ming Tushan couldn't stand it anymore and said in a low voice, What time is it now? Do you still want to fight among yourselves? Priest Chu's meaning is clear. The one who did this is Tian Xian, but he and his subordinates are all from our Taoist and demon realms. To the imperial court we are all one. After this, I'm afraid that the imperial court will really raise their butcher's knife and clean up Kelowna's Taoist and demon realms. You dare. The White Tiger commander seemed to have a bad temper and immediately stood up. The imperial court takes people from our demon clans every few days to serve them. Every year, we have to offer all kinds of heavenly treasures as tribute. How many of our White Tiger clan's cubs can clearly reach adulthood? But in order to gather enough resources, they let these cubs starve to death one by one. On the surface, they are giving us space to live, but in reality, they are keeping us in captivity. If they dare to use the butcher's knife, I will use the knife to kill them. I have long had enough of this kind of cowardice. Enough, don't say any more. Song Jinshui snorted. Is it only your White Tiger clan that does this? Then tell me, what should we do? The White Tiger commander sat down and stared with wide eyes. At this moment, everyone was silent. After a while, Chu Xinghe said faintly, if this revival fails, not only will Tionxin be killed, I'm afraid that we will also be killed in the future. Rather than that, why don't we let the spirit Qi revive? Perhaps we will have a chance, you mean? Purple Star looked at Chu Xinghe in shock. Not only did Purple Star young master look, but everyone present looked over. Chapter 1131. Yan Xiaoxi soon found his master, Fire Cloud Evil God. The news brought back by Priest 100 Tribulations was too important. It could even affect the relationship between the country and the Dao demons. This was no longer something Yan Xiaoxi could decide on his own. At this moment, in the courtyard, Fire Cloud Evil God was silent for a long time after hearing the news. Finally, he asked, have you sent this news out? Yan Xiaoxi shook his head, then asked tentatively, should I send it out now? Fire Cloud Evil God asked, what will happen if we send it out now? Yan Xiaoxi smiled bitterly. The agency is not an impenetrable wall. Once we reach this stage, the Dao demons will definitely know immediately. Then, we'll have a hard time moving forward. The casualties this time are too great. Apart from war, I can't think of anything else. That's right. But if you can think of it, so can they. Fire Cloud Evil God sighed. It's hard to say who's forcing who to rebel. If we really reach the stage of an all-out war, I'm afraid this country's land will really be in a state of war. If the powerful Dao demons scatter into the crowd and cities, can we really use nuclear weapons to wipe them out? Even if we take a step back, even if we use other weapons with great lethality, the loss of lives and property of the people will be immeasurable. Yan Xiaoxi smiled bitterly. Tionxin Gen 71 is a lunatic. Dao demons can only nibble, divide, and weaken. Boiling a frog in warm water is the best way to destroy them. Fire Cloud Evil God shook his head. He's not crazy. He's taking this step because he knows. Fire Cloud Evil God rubbed his forehead. That's why I've never liked to deal with people from the plainclothes path. This group of people is too calculative. They have the ability to stir up trouble. Enemies with ambition, ability, and persistence are the most terrifying. Should we keep this under wraps for now and wait for this matter to be over before reporting to the higher-ups? Yan Xiaoxi frowned and said, this way we can stabilize them first so that we won't be attacked from both sides. No, you need to send this out as soon as possible and report it. Otherwise, you would be derelict in your duties as the head of the bureau. However, Fire Cloud Evil God said, but at the same time, you have to tell both Taoists and Yao that you will suppress this matter. You even have to give them a country to investigate this matter. As long as the culprit is killed, as long as they can see the situation clearly, there will be a chance for leniency. Give them hope. Well, Yan Xiaoxi was stunned. The evil god of Fire Cloud said, if extraordinary powers cannot be used by a country, if these powers that transcend the mortal world are not used to protect the people, but to stand above all living beings, then it is not a pity to abandon them. Otherwise, why would we establish a country? What is the foundation of a country? I understand. Yan Xiaoxi took a deep breath and nodded. Fire Cloud Evil God waved his hand. Go. Master will shoulder all the responsibilities with you. If I didn't even have that much awareness, I wouldn't have chosen this job in the first place. Yan Xiaoxi smiled calmly and turned around to leave. On the other side of the crouching dragon villa, unlike the solemn atmosphere of the Taoists and Yao, this place was filled with enthusiasm. Due to the enchantment outside the crouching dragon villa that isolated the fog, after the electricity was supplied, all the equipment here could function normally. This was a temporary workshop set up by Dr. Zhao, the head of the Technical Research and Development Department of the Bureau. At this moment, a group of members of the Research and Development Department were looking at the scene where Dr. Zhao was arguing with someone, in the dust-free room inside the workshop. The person arguing with Dr. Zhao in the dust-free room looked very young, but in fact, his actual age was already more than 40 years old. The reason why he looked young was naturally because he was a genuine Taoist cultivator, Jiang Zhuo. He walked out of the space crack and somehow met Dr. Zhao's eyes. Usually, the Bureau would not allow members of the Taoists or Yao clan to enter the Research and Development Department directly, but this Jiang Zhuo had received special permission from Dr. Zhao. The reason was that Jiang Zhuo was a technical talent who had been delayed by immortal cultivation. You'll never know how much the theoretical research on sparse kernel learning in machine learning, published by this guy called Jiang Zhuo when he was still a graduate student, has contributed to our later research on artificial intelligence. And this was his achievement 20 years ago. Why didn't this guy think it through and go into immortal cultivation? If he continues to develop on this path, he'll definitely have more terrifying achievements. Science and technology are the primary productive forces. It was probably because of such roars that Dr. Zhao finally received special permission from Yan Xiaoxi. Of course, more importantly, Jiang Zhuo still had some civilization-breaking technology that he had brought back from the Penglai treasure house. Impossible. How can there be such a substance in the world that violates the common sense of physics? Dr. Zhao shook his head and said, "Negative transformation, as the reverse process of positive transformation, can't be carried out spontaneously, let alone the spontaneous recombination of the same substance. It's possible to turn a drop of water into ice, but you can't ask a drop of water to turn into mercury directly." Jiang Zhuo seemed to have expected Dr. Zhao's reaction, so he wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he took out a test tube leisurely. On the test tube, there was a liquid substance that emitted a colorful luster. "What's this?" Dr. Zhao was immediately attracted by this strange substance. "This is called myriad element," Jiang Zhuo said solemnly. "This thing has the ability to recombine species that I mentioned to you just now. In fact, I've been studying how to use it these 2 days. Finally, I found that this thing can change its form according to a person's spirit and will." Since it was useless, Jiang Zhuo didn't waste any time and poured out about 20 milliliters of colorful liquid from the test tube. This liquid was secreted from the crystal he had picked up at the bottom of the myriad element pool. Jiang Zhuo hadn't figured out the principle of the crystal's secretion, but there was no doubt that this secreted liquid was the myriad element he had seen before. And that crystal was defined as the myriad element mother by Jiang Zhuo. At this moment, Jiang Zhuo was staring at the 20 milliliters of myriad element in the petri dish, his eyes incomparably focused. Something inconceivable happened. The wan su in the petri dish gradually began to change. In the end, under Dr. Zhao's wide-eyed and terrified gaze, it actually turned into a cube of white. What is this?" Dr. Zhao asked subconsciously. "Sugar cube." Jiang Zhuo smiled. "It's absolutely harmless and sweet. You can try it if you don't believe me." Dr. Zhao stared at the sugar cube in the petri dish, frowning silently. Jiang Zhuo thought Dr. Zhao didn't believe him and hurriedly said, "I promise I didn't use any illusion on you. You can check the video recording just now. If you don't believe me, you can try it yourself. I'll teach you the method. But with your spirit strength, I don't know if it will work on the myriad element." I think it needs to be at least a minimum level for the myriad element to accept. Dr. Zhao? Dr. Zhao? Idiot! Dr. Zhao let out a wail, directly strangling Jiang's neck. You idiot! Idiot! Wastrel! Of all things, why didn't you reconstruct a sugar cube? Do you know? 1 gram is worth 200 million, you bastard! Even though Jiang Zuo was a cultivator, he felt suffocated by Dr. Zhao's hands, especially Dr. Zhao's left hand. There was an incredible strength. His left hand? Jiang's was suddenly froze, because Dr. Zhao's left hand didn't look like a normal person's hand. It was thick and filled with a strange cuticle, like metal. Dr. Zhao, your hand. Jiang Zhuo patted Dr. Zhao's arm forcefully. Dr. Zhao kept taking deep breaths, his emotions gradually calming down. His left hand gradually returned to normal. Finally, he let go of Jiang Zhuo and sighed. Sorry, I was too agitated. Jiang Zhuo swallowed his saliva, looking at Dr. Zhao's arm, hesitating. Dr. Zhao, your hand just now. Dr. Zhao shook his head, saying indifferently, Nothing, it was just an experiment accident. It allowed my left hand to mutate, its strength far surpassing that of normal people, but there are side effects, that is, it will become irritable. I need to inject medicine every once in a while. Is it a genetic experiment? Jiang Zhuo frowned. The research department of the administration dared to try anything? Let's not talk about this. Dr. Zhao shook his head. This type of wansu is much more important than this. Jiang Zhuo, tell me, how much of this type of wansu do you have? Not much. Jiang Zhuo shook his head, saying calmly, You know, we left with a lot. I only managed to bring back a little, about 700 milliliters. You said that place is called Penglai Treasury? Dr. Zhao suddenly asked. Jiang Zhuo smiled bitterly. Doctor, I advise you not to think about that place. Let's not talk about whether we can find a way to enter. Even if we can, I think, with the strength we have, we won't be much stronger than normal people in the Penglai Treasury. Dr. Zhao shook his head. Without accurate data, it's hard for me to imagine. Jiang Zhuo said bluntly, There's no need for data, and it's impossible to monitor the data, because I'm afraid this is a fault between civilizations. The data I brought back, I'm afraid it will take several generations of research to decipher. After deciphering it, whether it can be absorbed is another matter. Dr. Zhao smiled bitterly. How could he not know? The two of them studied day and night, and in the end, it was like a primitive man looking at the proof process of Riemann's hypothesis. It was no longer a problem of IQ, but a complete fault in the knowledge chain. Perhaps we can find a breakthrough from these weapons. Jiang Zhuo looked at some strange objects at this time. These were the things that Captain Ling Feng and the others brought back from other places before leaving, some strange weapons that only appeared in science fiction movies. Dr. Zhao obviously agreed with Jiang Zhuo's point of view. Instead of touching those broken civilizations, it was better to touch these technologies that seemed to be at least explorable. Coincidentally, from this lightsaber, I found a very special material. With the current technology, there's no way to synthesize it. I don't even know what its structure is. Dr. Zhao suddenly said seriously. If we can observe the molecular recombination process of all elements, perhaps we can understand the specific structure of this material and find the direction to synthesize it artificially. Dr. Zhao picked up the only lightsaber in his hand and pressed the button on it. A beam of light shot out, condensing and not dispersing, and it buzzed. Perhaps we still can't produce it ourselves, but it's not impossible to draw a ladle according to the gourd. The condensed energy beam technology, this technical ability is a huge problem. Jiang Zhuo sighed. Even though he didn't have the knowledge in this field, it didn't stop him from speculating. Just as Dr. Zhao said, even if it was just a copy, if it could be mass-produced, and everyone had this lightsaber, the military power of this country would probably reach a new peak, right? After all, the cracking and mastering of this technology could not only be applied to one weapon, the lightsaber. It could be used in many places, right? Thinking about it this way, not to mention the mother of all elements in his hand, perhaps the 700 milliliters of all elements that he lied about seemed to be able to change the pattern of the world. Jiang Zuo was suddenly shocked, cold sweat dripping. He didn't know whether it was a right thing to take all elements out of the Penglai treasure house, or something that shouldn't have happened. What made Nero curious was that after meeting Su Zijuan, Luochio didn't immediately return to the club, nor did he go to different places to collect the transaction fee from the rich woman. Instead, he came to a relatively empty place. It should be the cliff of a mountain, but it was surrounded by thick fog, and the real environment couldn't be seen clearly. Luochio stood on the cliff, looking into the distance. It had been a long time. For the active Nero, this was a relatively uncomfortable thing. God knew how many pairs of small shoes were waiting for her to wear after she went back after being alone with the boss outside for such a long time. Nero felt that she was gambling with her life. Boss? Master? Nero felt that she needed to be reminded, but it was a bit awkward for her to call him master. Of course, this was what Miss Servant Girl asked for. Having said that, less than half a day after transforming into a black soul messenger, Miss Servant Girl gave Nero a maid's code of conduct that was comparable to a Chinese-English dictionary. Do as you like, don't force yourself. Luochio turned back and looked at Nero with a smile. Taiyinzi will constantly flatter and smooth talk, that's his character. But it was precisely because of his personality that those flattering words would not make people feel disgusted. But you are different. Chapter 1132. For Nero's question, Boss Luo just laughed it off. He couldn't discuss with Nero whether Yu Yi, whose body was actually an alchemy product, would feel stuffy. Boss, are you waiting for someone? Nero, who made herself cooler, blinked and asked at this moment. Boss Luo asked curiously, What do you mean? Nero spread her hands and said, Otherwise, do you come all the way to the top of the mountain to look at the scenery just to show off? And I'm the only audience. Besides, I've seen your fierceness. There's no need to show it to me unless what? Luochio chuckled. The character of each black soul messenger was different. Taiyinzi had no bottom line, but he would secretly insist on something. Taisetsu seemed to be easygoing, but he never lost himself. Number 18 seemed gloomy and treacherous, but under the constraints of the club, she had to remain loyal all the time. As for Nero, she probably looked like a casual person on the surface. After hearing this, Nero smiled slightly and approached Luochio. She narrowed her eyes and said, Unless, boss, you want to play something that you don't want our general manager to know. For example, having an affair? Do you want to eat chewing gum? Luochio smiled. He turned his palm, and there was a small package of chewing gum, or rather, a bubble gum. Yes. Nero's eyes suddenly lit up. Stretch out your hand. Luochio continued. Nero blinked and stretched out her palm naturally. Luochio put the chewing gum in Nero's palm, then he smiled and said, Go down and wait for me. Nero blinked again and tilted her head. I always feel that you are raising me as a pet? Luochio smiled and said, Go ahead. Nero rolled her eyes. But as a black soul envoy, he couldn't go against his boss's will, whether it was intentional or not. Nero gradually walked down the mountain. On the way, she opened the wrapper of the chewing gum in her hand and put it into her mouth to chew. She muttered to herself, she even remembers the taste. It's a bit too much to brush up favorability like this. The thick fog suddenly dispersed a little, as if it was pushed away by a pair of invisible hands. On the top of the cliff, facing the wind, Luochio raised his head. Diagonally above him, there was a soft blue light, like phosphor powder, attached to the air. It didn't cause any earth-shattering phenomenon. It was just like a feather floating down from the sky. The feather slowly descended and finally landed on the surface of the lake, causing a few ripples. Finally, it slowly opened its eyes, and its blue hair fluttered slightly. Then, it landed on the cliff and came to Boss Luo's side. Respected Source Authority Holder, Sub-Administrator Number 003, Araya, at your service. The long-haired girl with blue eyes in front of him was still expressionless. No matter how he looked at it, the Araya in front of him and the Gaia in the Penglai treasure vault seemed to be the same mold. Luoqiu circled Araya curiously. Last time in the mirror world, he didn't take a good look at Araya. Indeed, no matter how he looked at it, except for the different colored hair, this was another living Gaia. The Penglai treasure vault had been completely closed by him. Now, there was only one Gaia left, and that was Luoya. Have you always been like this? Luoqiu walked to Araya again and asked softly, I mean, when you were created, were you already like this? Confirm. Luoqiu nodded and was silent for a while before asking, You are the sub-administrator, then who is the higher-level administrator than you? Where is he? Original world. Luoqiu thought for a while. Are all the worlds after primordial using the original world as a reference? Confirm. Luoqiu said, For what? Araya's blue eyes flickered for a moment, but her body was motionless. She didn't seem to have any intention of speaking. It seemed that she was in some kind of conflict. Just as Luoqiu was about to change to another question, Araya suddenly spoke. Primordial has reached the end. The core needs to be replaced. The new core needs to be cultivated. The numbered world is a hotbed for cultivating the new core. 003 is the first batch of hotbeds? Luoqiu looked at Araya's eyes. He couldn't see the inner body of Araya, who looked like a little girl. In other words, it didn't have an inner body at all. It didn't have a soul. It was just a mass of energy and a huge pile of data. Confirm. Luoqiu remembered his conversation with Cicero and suddenly asked, Did it fail? I'm not sure. Not sure? What do you mean? Every numbered world has a possibility at the beginning. In theory, every hotbed has the ability to cultivate a qualified core. The only difference is the degree of completion. Some numbered worlds have a far higher degree of completion than the current 003 number, and some numbered worlds have a lower degree of completion than the current 003 number. Luoqiu said, But a high degree of completion doesn't mean it can be completed in the end, right? Confirm. Luoqiu nodded. He paced in front of Araya and fell into deep thought. After a while, he asked, What is the degree of completion of this world? Now, the degree of completion is 47%. It has almost reached the maximum limit of the current civilization. Luoqiu frowned and said, You said that in theory, every numbered world has a possibility of completion? Why is there a maximum limit? The possibility always exists, but it needs to be in line with the direction of evolution. If the direction of evolution is wrong, it can't continue to complete the degree of completion. Then, restart, reset, choose the direction of civilization evolution again until the numbered world completes its core, or another world completes its core. How many times have you restarted it? Luoqiu frowned. A total of 4 times. This is the 5th time. This time, it's your method of restarting it? Luoqiu looked at the thick fog around him. The war between mortals and transcendence? Confirmed. For the civilization of the numbered world 003, if it develops normally, it will take a long time before it enters the stage of self-destruction. In order to reduce the time needed to cultivate the core, after calculation, it is recommended to use an interventional method. Luoqiu frowned and said coldly, Can it be stopped? Need it to be stopped? What if I say yes? Modified program. Modified restart plan. Original plan. Natural extinction of civilization. Reminder: the original plan will greatly delay the time needed to cultivate the core. Suggestion: not recommended. Query: are you sure you want to modify it? Luoqiu walked up to Araya and reached out to stroke her long hair. He suddenly asked, Can I connect to the terminal behind you through you? Denied. All sub-administrators are independent and cannot be connected to the system terminal. Core completed, terminal can be connected. As expected, Luocha nodded and said, I don't really want to interrupt your original progress, but I want to do something while I still have a little bit of selfishness left in me. Query, meaning unknown. Luocha smiled. How about this? You don't have to change your plan right away. Just delay it a little. Query, exact time. Luocha looked at the horizon and said softly, then, let's use the end of a person's life as the time of your restart. Araya opened her mouth again and was about to say something. Boss Luo reached out and tapped on Araya's forehead, saying softly, her. Understood. Subsystem correcting. Countdown restart. Writing. Writing successful. Naming countdown file name. Naming successful. Marking complete. The Terminator. Renziling. Dash. After the pink colloid reached its limit, it broke naturally, so the chewing gum stuck in Nero's mouth. This thing had completely lost its taste after being chewed by her. She lay on a large rock, using her hands as a pillow. She stared blankly at the sky that was covered by a thick fog. The silent environment even made her feel drowsy. However, she seemed to feel something and sat up all of a sudden. Not far away, the club's boss was walking slowly down the mountain road. Hey boss! Let's go and complete Miss Zijuan's commission first. Luocha smiled slightly. After a period of recuperation, Su Zijuan woke up. After waking up, the rich woman only felt dizzy, as if her body was hollowed out. She lay on the bed. It was already nighttime. At night, as a Ba, she could always be more energetic. Her body naturally absorbed the wandering yin qi in the air. Su Zijuan's drained spirit was gradually replenished. Long Shiruo was lying on the bed. Perhaps because she was too tired, even when Su Zijuan woke up, Long Shiruo still didn't notice it. At this time, there was a slight knock on the door. It was Chichi Kamaya who came in. Princess, you're awake. Chichi Kamaya was quite happy, walking quickly. Su Zijuan gestured for Chichi Kamaya to be quiet. She pointed at Long Shiruo, who was lying on the bed sleeping, and then pointed outside. Chichi Kamaya quickly understood and left the room quietly. Su Zijuan looked at Long Shiruo's face, frowned and snorted lightly. Then she got off the bed and walked out of the door. But the moment the door closed, the bed sheet naturally floated up and covered Long Shiruo's body. In the corridor, Su Zijuan and Chichi Kamaya's footsteps slowly sounded. Su Zijuan came to the place she destroyed. Seeing that half of the villa had disappeared, she couldn't help but frown. Actually, I quite like this villa. Princess, don't worry, I'll ask someone to repair it later. Chichi Kamaya comforted her. There's no need. Su Zijuan shook her head and said, it's broken. Even if it's repaired, it can't hide the fact that it was destroyed by me. When there's nothing else, you can ask someone to tear it down. I won't come here again. Chichi Kamaya nodded silently. Su Zijuan slowly sighed and adjusted her spirit. Then she looked at Chichi Kamaya and asked, what did you find out about the Xianyuan Palace? Chichi Kamaya quickly said, Princess, according to the message, the guards in the secret treasure hall didn't know about the 4 Seasons glazed book, and there was no record of it being lent. I suspect that the 4 Seasons glazed book may have been secretly taken out of the secret treasure hall. As for the person who took it out, it's very likely to be Gongsun Xiu. After all, before we got lost in the Penglai treasure hall, he had already come here and met Lord Long once. Su Zijuan frowned and said, are you saying that Gongsun Xiu and Tianxin Generation 71 colluded with each other? Chichi Kamaya said seriously, I can't rule out this possibility. As for whether there are other secrets, I don't know for now. Qian and Kuan have always been friendly on the surface, but actually, they don't get along well. Our people in the palace have taken a lot of risks to get this information. Su Zijuan snorted coldly and said, Humph! Those old guys from the Gongsun family only know how to take advantage of their seniority. If it weren't for the fact that I can't stand those old guys pointing fingers at me, I wouldn't have the time to run away from home. After a while, I'll really have to go back and drag those old guys out to beat them up. Only then will they behave themselves." Chichikamaya pretended that he didn't hear anything. Su Zijuan sighed. "Can you find Gongsun Shiyu's whereabouts now?" Chichikamaya shook his head. "I can't, but according to the report, it seems that a group of young warriors from the Qian tribe quietly left the Xianyuan Palace and came to the vicinity of Mount Tai. Currently, my people are monitoring them. Also, there's another matter that's more urgent." "What is it?" Su Zijuan frowned. Chichikamaya said solemnly, "The thick fog this time has caused panic in the entire country. I'm afraid that the country can't cover it up with ordinary excuses. Also, all the scholars from the administration have come out in full force this time. I'm afraid that after this, the imperial court will extend their butcher's knife to the entire Dao demon realm. After all," Su Zijuan snorted coldly and said, "after all, these idiots actually dared to sacrifice 1,000,000 people. They deserve to die. Princess, this matter still needs to be separated." Chichikamaya frowned and said, "If it really leads to an all-out war, it might not be a good thing for our Xianyuan palace. But for me, it might not be a bad thing." Su Zijuan sneered. "Chichikamaya, I order you to take back Long Shirua's turtle pearl. I won't allow you to use any method to borrow the turtle pearl, do you hear me? This. Princess, aren't you making things difficult for me?" Chichikamaya's face instantly turned bitter. "Making things difficult?" Su Zijuan chuckled. "You're feeling troubled just because I took away the turtle pearl? What if I let you imprison her? Princess, you're joking, right?" Chichikamaya instantly broke out in cold sweat. "Imprison Long Shirua?" Chapter 1133. An angry voice came from the basement. Long Shirua, who woke up to find herself trapped in this place, quickly realized her situation. However, no matter how much she cursed, she couldn't make Chichikamaya open the basement door. "Lord Long, there's some medicine on the table that this old man made. You should rest here for the time being." "Chichikamaya, was this your idea?" "Master Long, please don't ask. This old man was prepared to be captured by you and made into a stew of despair. That's why I locked you in here. Don't waste your energy. Rest well. I'm leaving." "Chichikamaya." But this time, there was no response. Long Shirua looked at the basement. Although it was a basement, the layout was no different from a suite. It had everything. It was so exquisite that she had the urge to smash everything. But this kind of destruction wouldn't help. Long Shirua quickly calmed down. She knew that there was a pair of eyes secretly observing her. "Girl, I'm telling you, don't mess around. Do you hear me? Su Zijuan, do you hear me? Su Zijuan. Zijuan." It was empty, and there was a warm bowl of medicine on the table. Long Shirua leaned against the door dejectedly. Xiao Xingma was brought to Su Zijuan. The Ghost City Lord had lived for a long time and had a high status in the demon realm, so he knew a lot about the Xianyuan Palace. "I heard that Tian Xian's 70th generation wasn't completely dead yet and was saved by you?" Xiao Xingma looked at Su Zijuan, who was sitting on the seat. Because of her petite figure, the big chair made her look smaller. But this was the princess of the Xianyuan royal family. In the divine land, the dragon monarch was the pinnacle of all beings. Then, below the dragon monarch was the Xianyuan royal family. If one were to really calculate, the present Dao Yao was only at the third tier of the divine land's extraordinary power system. "Greetings, Princess Xianyuan." The sound of the flute was neither humble nor overbearing. It slowly said, "The last time I saw the princess, it was the princess's 700th birthday. In the blink of an eye, 100 years have passed. The princess is still as graceful as ever. I heard that Tian Xian Generation 70 is still alive?" Su Zijuan was expressionless. This was the second time she had asked the same question. She even added, Don't hide it. I have something to ask him. Xiao Xing pondered for a moment. In the end, he took out the 10,000 Ghost Tower and took out the Heaven's Heart 70th generation. A gray mist emerged from the 10,000 Ghosts pagoda in Silent Zhao's hand. Not long after, a dusky figure appeared in front of everyone. It did not look solid, as if it would disappear at any moment. Chi-Chi Kamaya, Ghost Child, you two go out first. At this time, Su Zijuan crossed her legs under the table. City Lord Xiao, please go outside. I want to have a good talk with the 70th generation. At this time, Xiao Xing said, Your Highness, Mr. Tian Xian's soul power is very weak. He needs to be nourished by the 10,000 Ghosts pagoda at all times. When he is about to die, I will call you. Su Zijuan said indifferently, What, do you think I can't even see if he can hold on? City Master Xiao, I'll have to trouble you to wait outside. That dusky figure. Sky Heart 70 slowly shook his head. Xiao Xing could only nod. Then, he left with Chi-Chi Kamaya and Ghost Child. After they left, Su Zijuan looked at the figure in front of her. Tian Xian Generation 70, everyone, including me, thought that you had died in the fiendish dragon calamity. Those fellows who were saved because of you were so grateful that they almost made you a god. I didn't expect you to hide. In the blink of an eye, several decades have passed. You people from the Cotton Clothes sect are really powerful. Every one of you can cause trouble for Kelowna. You might as well change your name. Don't call yourself the Cotton Clothes sect, just call yourself the Lozi sect. After not seeing you for 100 years, Princess is still so unreasonable. Tian Xian Generation 70 bitterly smiled and shook his head. Last time, the sinner Qing Xiazi should have been executed. However, you protected him and Xian Yuan Palace decided to expel him. Su Zijuan coldly snorted. This time, he is still the successor of your Cotton Clothes sect. What else can you use to protect him? Nothing. Tian Xian Generation 70's expression was bitter. Kelowna's transcendent factions were more complicated. There were 3 factions. Shinryu was an existence that balanced the 3 factions. As for the Taoists and demons, they had their own sects and clans. For thousands of years, the human race had been weak. When the Age of Chaos came, the human race flourished. Only then did the human race rise. But back then, when the Taoists and demons were rampant, the weak human race still had a place. Other than the human race having many talents, it was also because of Xian Yuan Palace's support. Xian Yuan Palace had always been the protector of the human race. However, Xian Yuan Palace was protecting the human race and not a certain dynasty. As for the administration, it was a special organization that was established step by step after Xian was established. It could be said that it truly belonged to the human race, or it could be said that it was the power of Xian to deal with transcendence. Xian Yuan Palace, Taoists, and demons. The 3 factions were balanced. Among them, Xian Yuan Palace was the strongest. Back then, when Qing Xiazi attracted the Dragon Fiend, not only did both Taoists and demons suffer heavy losses, it even caused a huge loss of life. Because of Tian Xian Generation 70's face and friendship, the Taoists barely spared Qing Xiazi's life. On the other hand, Xian Yuan Palace pardoned Qing Xiazi's death, because Tian Xian Generation 70 sacrificed himself to save the common people. It's good that you know. Su Zijuan coldly smiled. Now, your sect members have already crazily slaughtered millions of people to refine some kind of evil magic tool. This kind of crime, even if you sacrifice yourself again, it won't be enough to be pardoned. Do you understand? What does princess mean? Tian Xian Generation 70 seemed to have realized something, or rather, from the start of the conversation, he had already guessed something. The Cotton sect is too troublesome. Su Zijuan indifferently said. After this matter, your inheritance will be broken, including Qing Xiazi, who was released back then. I will also send people to get his cultivation back. At this moment, Tian Xin Generation 70 seemed to have weakened several times in an instant. He was silent. Su Zijuan leaned back. Don't tell me that your cotton sect's destiny is to protect Kelowna from foreign invaders. The foreign invaders that you have painstakingly guarded are probably already dead by now. In the future, there will no longer be a Peng Lai. Your so-called destiny is also over. You know that, right? Heavens will 70th sighed and nodded silently. Su Zijuan stood up. You can say that I am overbearing, but you, Tian Xin Generation 70, should know what I am. If you push me too far, no one will have a good ending. I also don't want to casually go to that step. Killing God Xian Yuan is the sword of the common people. Don't give me a chance to truly pull it out. You should know that with the transcendence of this era, there are not many who can block its sword. Don't have extravagant hopes that Shinryu can save the entire transcendence. Shinryu originally only protected the entire Kelowna. Now it is only because he is too idle that he cares about this and that. Right now, Kelowna's will is on the side of the human race. Once killing God Xian Yuan conforms to the will of the people, Kelowna's dragon vein will naturally give way. Everything. Tian Xin Generation 70 bowed deeply. Princess, please do as you wish. Okay, you can go back. Su Zijuan waved her hand. Walking out of Su Zijuan's room, Tian Xin Generation 70 quickly found Xiao Xingma. At this time, Xiao Xingma was sitting cross-legged in the room, continuously absorbing the ghost energy in the Thousand Ghost Pagoda. Mr. Tian Xin, are you all right? Seeing Tian Xin Generation 70 come back, Xiao Xingma hurriedly stood up to greet him. That imperial princess, did she make things difficult for you? Tian Xin Generation 70 shook his head. There is no such thing as making things difficult or not. Ever since Xian Yuan Palace's mission was established, it has never changed. We are just doing what we think is right. Seems like the situation is not optimistic. Xiao Xingma frowned. Tian Xin Generation 70 said seriously, City Lord Xiao, thank you for saving my life back then, but this old man still has a matter that I need your help with. I don't know if you can agree. Xiao Xingma said, these past few decades, although Mr. has not left the Thousand Ghost Pagoda, you have guided this Xiao to transform Ghost City, greatly alleviating the sufferings. I am unable to repay Mr.'s kindness to the Ghost City. If there is anything, just tell me. Tian Xin Generation 70 walked to Xiao Xingma's side and whispered something. Xiao Xingma listened seriously and frowned. But he did not hesitate for long before nodding. Don't worry, mister. This Xiao will definitely do it well. Tianxin 70 sighed. If things can't be done, then just give up. It's already rare and precious to be able to do your best. Xiao Xingma did not say anything. Tian Xin Generation 70 said slowly, in that case, let this old man return to the Thousand Ghost Pagoda. City Lord Xiao has always asked this old man to look for a person. For many years, this old man has not found anything, but this time on Peng Lai, there seems to be some clues. Let this old man do a good divination. This is true. Xiao Xingma's face suddenly became excited. Tian Xin Generation 70 shook his head. City Lord Xiao, the person you asked this old man to look for seems to be covered by the mysteries of heaven, hazy and unclear. I can only try my best. No matter what, this Xiao thanks Mister for your kindness. At the entrance to the cave, two youths welcomed them. One of the youths had a broken wrist. His face was pale and somewhat clean. As for the other, his face was faintly emitting a kind of evil aura. Gongsun Xiu and Gongsun Jishui. When the two of them approached the entrance, two black-clothed, bronze-masked men rushed out of the cave. Seeing that it was Gongsun Xiu and Gongsun Jishui, these two black-clothed people quickly let down their guard. One of them cupped his fists and said, Young Master Gongsun is back. It seems that the matter entrusted to you by his honor has been completed. Gongsun Xiu said indifferently, Where is Lai Kaixing? Is he hiding inside? The two black-clothed people frowned inwardly, secretly looking at each other. This Gongsun Shiyu seemed to be somewhat strange. But Gongsun's identity was different from theirs. He was more of his honor's collaborator. His honor is inside. That black-clothed person nodded. Currently, his honor is refining the million-life soul pearl with all his might. It is very important and cannot be easily disturbed. Cannot be disturbed. Gongsun Shiyu suddenly smiled evilly. What a coincidence, I came here specifically to disturb him. Seeing that Gongsun Shiyu's face was full of evil aura, the two black-clothed people were startled. Gongsun Shiyu suddenly rushed forward. These two black-clothed people were also experts. They immediately reacted and shouted, "Back off! The ones who should back off are you two." Gongsun Shiyu laughed strangely at this moment. His movements were extremely fast, to the extent that the two black-clothed people didn't even have time to react. He had already grabbed their heads with one hand each. The moment they were grabbed, these two black-clothed people immediately let out miserable cries. The strange red and black fog on Gongsun Shiyu's body suddenly rolled, completely engulfing these two black-clothed people. One demon, the vitality is not bad. Gongsun Shiyu laughed sinisterly. It is just right to fill my stomach. In just a short moment, the two black-clothed people's bodies had already withered. They fell to the ground. Gongsun Shui behind Gongsun Shiyu glanced casually, frowned, but didn't say anything. At this moment, Gongsun Shiyu walked into the cave with large strides. Just as he walked in, there were already 7 black-clothed people blocking in front of him. This made Gongsun Shiyu's eyes even more evil. The red and black light on his body suddenly shone brightly. But at this moment, from the depths of the cave, a clear voice rang out. "All of you back off, let him in." The 7 black-clothed people didn't hesitate, quickly moving to the side. Gongsun Shiyu chuckled, slowly walking in under everyone's gaze. At this moment, in the depths of the cave, on that huge altar, Lai Kaixing slowly opened his eyes. But at this moment, a figure flashed in front of him. Surprisingly, it was Gongsun Shiyu. Lai Kaixing sized up Gongsun Shiyu, his expression calm and indifferent. It seems that even the descendant of Gongsun with the Yellow Emperor's bloodline can't resist the corrosion of the evil dragon. Stop pretending. Gongsun Shiyu sneered. You originally didn't have good intentions when you handed over the evil dragon pearl. You want to use the Yellow Emperor's power to suppress me and use my power for your own use? I can only say that you chose the wrong person. Success, failure, there are only 2 sides, 2 results. Lai Kaixing shook his head, slowly stood up, and smiled faintly. This is more reassuring than the unknown. Humph. Gongsun Shiyu snorted, then said with an evil smile, I won't waste words with you. Since I crawled back from hell, I'll take back the debt from back then with interest. You want to use the million-life soul pearl you refined as a medium for the spirit energy of the earth? That's too wasteful, just let me eat it. Saying this, Gongsun Shiyu's arm shot out like lightning. Lai Kaixing didn't seem to have time to react. His neck was instantly grabbed by Gongsun Shiyu. Chapter 1134. Lai Caixing's lips twitched as if he wanted to say something, but Gongsun Shiyu's hand was like an iron clamp, almost crushing his throat bone. Crack! Gongsun Shiyu suddenly exerted force, and Lai Caixing's neck lost its support. His head drooped down. The answer is, no matter what you calculate, I'll kill you. Gongsun Shiyu sneered and threw Lai Kaixing to the ground. You killed him. Behind him, Gongsun Shui stepped onto the altar and saw Lai Kaixing lying motionless on the ground. His expression changed slightly. Gongsun Shiyu sneered, no one can't be killed. This was out of Gongsun Shui's expectation. Lai Kaixing was one of the leaders of the World Essence Recovery Plan, but he was killed at this critical moment. What did this mean? Everything didn't go according to plan, and there were always so many variables. But if you kill him, then there will be no one to preside over the final step. If the Ling Qi of the earth can't be restored in the end, then won't everything be in vain? Gongsun Jishui couldn't help but frown. Gongsun Xiu didn't choose to kill him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have kept him here. Gongsun Shishui asked this question because he was really confused about the future chaos, and at the same time, he was testing Gongsun Xiu's bottom line. Naive. Do you really think that no one in this world can recover the world essence except for the cloth sect? Gongsun Xiu sneered. Gongsun Shishui opened his mouth in astonishment. Gongsun Xiu walked to the crystal pillar on the altar. What was sealed in the crystal pillar was the hope of the dragon vein transforming into a dragon. Gongsun Xiu lightly pressed his hand on the crystal pillar and sneered. You mortals want to open the world essence, so you have to break a gap from the outside to the inside. But for us, it's much simpler. You said, us? Gongsun Shishui's pupils constricted. Gongsun Xiu's expression became more and more strange. At this moment, those black-clothed people in the karst cave finally realized that Lai Kaixing was killed on the altar. Lord! Lord is dead. Gongsun Xiu killed Lord. What happened? Dozens of black-clothed men rushed out. They swarmed onto the altar from all directions, glaring furiously at Gongsun Xiu and Gongsun Jishui. Gongsun Jishui couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat as he watched the aura of the dozens of black-clothed men rise crazily. These were all old monsters who had no hope of advancing and were on the verge of despair. They had been persuaded by Lai Kaixing and had been planning for the great cause of the spirit aura recovery. Every one of them was even prepared to sacrifice themselves. But at this moment, Lai Kaixing had died in front of them, which was equivalent to completely destroying their only hope. At this moment, Gongsun Xiu snorted coldly. What are you going crazy for? You have exhausted your potential and your lifespan is about to come to an end. All you want is to recover your spirit energy and redeem your past regrets. Then, as long as you can recover your spirit energy, what difference does it make who your lord is? Don't think that only Lai Kaixing can do it. Besides, Gongsun Xiu changed the topic and waved his arm. A gust of wind blew towards Lai Caixing's corpse and turned it over. This guy isn't the real Lai Kaixing. He's just a scapegoat. A red and black mist flashed across Lai Caixing's face. After that, Lai Caixing's cheeks seemed to be corroded. Decayed substances began to peel off from his face. After that, a different face appeared. Isn't this old man Tianqi from Changbai Mountain? How can it be him? Someone among the black-clothed men recognized this person. Didn't he use up his lifespan 10 years ago and pass away? I saw him pass away with my own eyes. Impossible. The plain-clothed path has plenty of ways to prolong one's life. Gongsun Xiu sneered. You idiots. Lai Kaixing wanted to forcefully reverse the general trend of humanity. He didn't just offend the human race. He also offended the will of Kelowna. Do you think he would so easily expose himself to the storm? The black-clothed men fell silent. Gongsun Xiu roared with laughter. What, do you feel like you've been deceived? I can tell you very responsibly that he's not a good person at all. Opening up the world's qi and allowing it to recover might not be what he said. He didn't want to regain the glory of Kelowna's Taoists. Following Gongsun Xiu's words, the black-clothed men's aura began to weaken. Only I can help you. Gongsun Xiu laughed and slammed his palm down on the altar. In the blink of an eye, the entire altar cracked open, revealing the boiling hot furnace inside. In a split second, dense spiritual energy and life energy crazily gushed out from the crack. Inside the furnace, dozens of soul-generating pearls were arranged in a circle. They flickered and spat out endless life force. Gongsun Xiu waved his hand, and the erupting life force and spiritual qi split into dozens of streams that rushed into the black-clothed men's bodies. Under the nourishment of this dense life force, they suddenly realized that their lifespans that had reached the end were recovering bit by bit, or in other words, increasing their lifespans. Now I'll grant each of you 5 years of life. Gongsun Xiu said casually. Do you see that? It's that simple. You don't have to sacrifice yourselves. The black-clothed men looked at each other in dismay. Under the effect of the life-prolonging technique, those who had already made up their minds were like a joke at this moment, collapsing to a point that even they themselves did not expect. Now, protect me and help me absorb the energy of millions of souls. Gongsun Shiyu said solemnly, when I recover, I'll open up the world's spiritual veins and grant you immortality. Greetings, my lord. Dozens of black-clothed men said in unison and bowed deeply at the same time. Gongsun Shishui watched all of this silently. While he found it laughable, he also felt relieved. Now that Gongsun Shiyu had the power to dominate everyone, he naturally had the ability to change everything according to his will. When one's power was strong enough, there was no need for too much planning. Perhaps this was what Gongsun Shiyu was pursuing, but unfortunately, the current him was no longer the original him. Greetings, my lord. Gongsun Shishui also let out a long sigh and slowly lowered his head. Gongsun Shishui, I want you to stop the Four Seasons glazed book and open up the area within 100 miles of Mount Tai. Gongsun Shiyu's voice echoed in the cave. I want all the Tao demons of Kelowna to come and witness this grand moment together. As he said this, Gongsun Shiyu laughed wildly and entered the crack in the altar, walking into the furnace. Surging life force energy crazily surged into his limbs and bones, and the strange expression on his face became more and more intense. Shinryu, oh Shinryu, are you still not planning to come out? I'm looking forward to devouring you. Crouching Dragon Mountain Villa. The thick fog that shrouded the Crouching Dragon Mountain Villa slowly receded. The sun was scorching at noon, and it was still winter, but the mountain villa that hadn't seen sunlight for nearly a month now seemed to have some warmth. The long-awaited sunlight made all the Tao demons in the villa walk out of their rooms and look at the clear blue sky, but none of them were happy, because this strange change seemed to be an omen of something. In another courtyard, Fire Cloud Evil God woke up from his meditation and walked out of the courtyard. He looked up at the sky and frowned at this moment. He heard footsteps behind him. He hurriedly turned around and saw Mr. Blind walking out of the essence room with a tired expression and a face as pale as paper. Blind? Fire Cloud Evil God quickly walked to Mr. Blind's side and grabbed his arm, injecting a gentle strand of true energy into him. Is there a result? The pilgrimage platform. Mr. Blind said solemnly, we must erect the 7th Jade Dragon Pillar before midnight tonight. Midnight is the best time to activate this array. If we really want to activate the Earth Spirit Vein, we must choose the right time. Midnight tonight. Fire Cloud Evil God frowned. This was too much of a rush. Because there were at most 12 hours to midnight. Although Crouching Dragon Villa was built at the foot of Mount Tai, and it would not take long to reach the pilgrimage platform, there was only half a day left. It was not enough for the scattered people in Crouching Dragon Villa to gather. Yen Xiaoxi's persuasion did not have much effect as all the Tao demons looked listless. The 2nd of February, the dragon rises. This is the time when the earth veins are most active every year. Mr. Blind said seriously, if the earth vein shackles are activated tonight, the earth vein spirit energy in Kelowna will transform into the dragon rises, and with the array's effect, the earth vein's shackles will be completely broken. Fire Cloud Evil God frowned, because this blind man before him did not seem to be simply worried about the revival of spirit energy. Blind, is there something you haven't said? Mr. Blind sighed slowly. Old man, if the spirit energy can really be revived, that is a matter for the future. But when the earth spirit veins begin to awaken and the earth's spirit energy can really break through the earth veins shackles, the first thing it brings is not hope, but despair. Why do you say that? Mr. Blind sighed. Do you know when the decline of the Tao demons began? It is said that it started 1,000 years ago. Fire Cloud Evil God frowned. 1,000 years ago, the decline of the heaven and earth's spirit energy began to plummet. It is a huge blow to you Tao demons, but to us martial cultivators, it does not affect us much. Mr. Blind said, 1,000 years ago, this is a more direct situation, and it is also a situation that the Tao demons can truly sense. But in fact, the spirit energy has always been declining. 1,000 years ago is just a clear dividing line. The true decline of the heaven and earth's spirit energy probably began in the Great Qin Empire. What happened? In the past, the first emperor swept through the 6 countries and unified the Central Plains. At the same time, he vanquished the demons. After that, in order to restrain the development of the Tao demons, the first emperor used 1,000 years of the Great Qin Empire's national destiny as the price and combined the power of the stars in the sky to create a massive seal. This seal took 1,000 years to complete itself. Then, from 1,000 years ago, it was officially activated and began to gather the heaven and earth's spirit energy bit by bit. Until now, the heaven and earth's spirit energy has become so thin. Mr. Blind laughed bitterly. Actually, in less than 100 years, the heaven and earth's spirit energy will be completely sealed. At that time, the Tao demons will no longer be able to obtain any trace of spirit energy from the heaven and earth. There will no longer be any cultivators in the world, and no demons will be able to break through the shackles of the heaven and earth and be born. The rest will only be eroded by time and slowly die. There will no longer be any Tao demons in this world. This was the first time Fire Cloud Evil God had heard of a 1,000-years-old secret. Perhaps only a sect like the Cloth Clothes sect that had existed for countless years would know of such a secret. At this moment, even he, the #1 expert of the human race, did not dare to listen as he broke out in cold sweat. After a long time, the first emperor, Fire Cloud Evil God, slowly exhaled, the Emperor of the Ages. As expected of the Emperor of the Ages, he actually dared to use 1,000 years of the Great Qin Empire's national destiny just to exterminate the Tao demons. No wonder the Great Qin Empire only had a few short decades. What a ruthless heart! What a great courage! Mr. Blind said at this moment, this spirit energy has already been sealed in the earth for too long. For 2,000 years, the spirit energy has been squeezed into the earth. Once it breaks through the shackles this time and rushes into the sky, do you know what kind of consequences it will bring? Fire Cloud Evil God frowned. The accumulation rebound? Mr. Blind nodded heavily. The moment the seal is broken, this enormous spirit energy will wash away everything. I can't calculate the specific range, but it will at least exceed 700 kilometers. Within this range, from the inside to the outside, from the strong to the weak, all living beings in the range will have to bear the impact of this enormous spirit energy. Old man, pure oxygen is poison, pure spirit energy is also poison. If the spirit energy is too pure, even Tao demons with weaker cultivation cannot absorb it. They will explode and die at any time, not to mention those mortals. Once the spirit energy recovers, I'm afraid the first thing it will do is plunge all living beings into misery and suffering. The land of China was vast, and 700 kilometers was not very large. But if 700 kilometers was the minimum. Moreover, Mount Tai was only 400 to 500 kilometers away from the capital. If the spirit energy shockwave spread to the capital, blind. Fire Cloud Evil God suddenly laughed bitterly at this moment. I suddenly have the impulse to make this spirit energy recovery succeed. This gave Mr. Blind a great fright. He did not know what this old man had suddenly gone crazy. Fire Cloud Evil God said faintly at this moment, if it doesn't succeed, I'm afraid you Tao demons won't be able to take the blame. I won't let you walk out of Kelowna. Mr. Blind laughed bitterly and did not say anything. He just silently took out a bag of golden needles, and then used qi to control the needles. The golden needles rushed out in an instant, and then pierced into the acupoints of his body, and then directly entered his body. Blind you! His face instantly became rosy, and he became full of energy. At the same time, a terrifying and fierce wave of mana surged and erupted from Mr. Blind's body. The huge impact even made Fire Cloud Evil God's cheeks shake because of it. Mr. Blind's eyes slowly opened. At this moment, he could really see the colors around him. No need. Mr. Blind shook his head. I won't live until tomorrow's sunrise. Chapter 1135. In the beginning, the agency wasn't powerful. In fact, it was only a small department with less than 10 people and some scattered Taoist and demon members serving in the army. At first, they were only responsible for registering the information of the various Taoist sects and demon members in Kelowna. Its development had to be traced back to the calamity of draconic fiends decades ago. It was precisely because they had witnessed the destructive power of the reckless extraordinary against reality that huge sums of funds and reddened documents began to emerge from the highest places. Decades had passed, and this team of humans that had less than 10 clerks had now grown into an organization with thousands of members, and this did not include the huge logistics team behind it. Every province and every provincial capital had a hidden branch of the agency. A large number of talents quickly gathered under the full operation of the country's machine. By the time the Taoist sects and demon clans reacted, the agency had already grown into a colossus. Even the Kelowna Shinryu had an idle position as a senior advisor in the agency. Of course, even if it was an idle position, its deterrence effect was still quite effective. However, the Kelowna Shinryu was only a force, a borrowed force. It was a bargaining chip used to balance the three-side. No matter how powerful she was, her purpose and mission meant that she couldn't be too biased towards any side. Although humans had this super weapon that could destroy the world, it couldn't be used easily. On the other hand, the Taoist demons had extremely powerful individual combat ability. High-end combat ability had always been the agency's shortcoming. This passive situation was only broken by the appearance of a man. He was the evil god of freight who was known as the strongest human male in the world. He was the unparalleled Nation Knight. Until now, the agency had a total of 4 Nation Knight. Now, apart from the Fire Cloud Evil God, the other 3 Nation Knights had also arrived at the Crouching Dragon Villa. As the guards of the country's highest leader, they were constantly guarding the source of the country's peace and stability. Their arrival was also quiet. Of course, some of the capable Tao demons might have sensed something. But so what? After all, there wasn't much time left for everyone. The evil god of Fire Cloud was the most powerful of the 4 Kingdom Knights of the agency. However, under certain circumstances, the evil god of Fire Cloud might be defeated by the combined forces of the other 3 Kingdom Knights. That was because the other 3 Kingdom Knights were humans who possessed powerful spiritual powers and were born with inconceivable supernatural abilities. 2 men and 1 woman. Fire Cloud, Evil God Fire Cloud, and Yen Xiaoxi quietly received them. I didn't expect you guys to come as well. Looking at the 3 people in front of him, the evil god of Fire Cloud, who had been frowning all morning, had a rare smile on his face. Originally, we were about to depart, but you came in time. There were 2 men and 1 woman. They looked to be in their 30s or 40s. That woman looked the youngest, in her early 30s, but in reality, she was already 70 years old. The reason why she still looked young was not because she had a spell to retain her youthful appearance, but because her metabolism was several times faster than ordinary people. She also had the ability to accelerate the metabolism of others. The Kingdom Knight, Fairy Doctor, had superb medical skills and was extremely good at using all kinds of poisons. Born in the ancient land of Miaojiang, she was born with the strange ability to make withered trees come back to life. Bihua. The man opposite the Fairy Doctor, nicknamed Soldier King, was called Luo Kai. He was born in the Special Forces. Before becoming a Kingdom Knight, he had successfully completed more than 200 dangerous missions. He had the supernatural ability to freeze, and could instantly create an environment of -196 degrees. The last man did not have high physical strength, but his brain was unusually developed. He was a telekinesis master called Lan Bo. In addition, Dr. Zhao, who was in charge of technical support in the agency, was also pulled into this short meeting. With the 4 Kingdom Knights gathered, Yen Xiaoxi could only stand aside and listen to their conversation carefully. I feel that we have gathered as much manpower as possible. I estimate that we can all gather before tomorrow morning at the earliest. Soldier King Luo Kai was serious. The 3 of us came first. In addition, I also brought a group of elites with me. We have enough equipment. Bihua nodded at this time, looked at Fire Cloud Evil God and said, "You can use your full strength. It doesn't matter even if you break your arms and legs, I will fix them for you." Fire Cloud Evil God immediately stared at this woman. Although he trusted this old woman's medical skills, who would want to break their arms and legs for no reason? It's too late. Fire Cloud Evil God shook his head. We must act tonight. Or else. Mr. Blind's speculation, at this time, slowly came out from Fire Cloud Evil God's mouth. The 3 Kingdom Knights frowned, their faces were solemn, and their breathing slightly heavy. Everyone, Chief Number 1 has approved me to bring this thing. The oldest and also the most stable telekinesis Master Lan Bo slowly took out a box. Dr. Zhao, your previous proposal has also been approved. But now that time is so tight, I wonder if you can make that thing? Dr. Zhao revealed an expression of ecstasy, and as if he had obtained a treasure, he directly snatched the box from Master Lan Bo's hands. He couldn't wait to open it, and immediately, a strange purple light shot out. It actually had a soul-stirring beauty. What was contained inside was a fist-sized crystal that looked like a mother crystal. Fallen God Origin Stone. Can this thing really be used? Dr. Zhao's voice was trembling at this time. More than 2,000 years ago, according to ancient records, there were 2 meteorites that hit the Earth. One fell on the northern prairie and mysteriously disappeared, while the other was found by someone and passed down all the way. It is this fallen god origin stone. Every material of the fallen god bullet is very precious, but the rarest is the main material, the meteorite crystal. All the meteorite bullets, as long as its powder is added, can directly burn spiritual power and Yao power. If all of this origin stone is used, is it really for me to use? There is only one of this origin stone. Master Lan Bo said, although this thing is precious, it may be the only one in the world. But no matter how precious it is, it can't be compared with ordinary people. If the country's foundation is shaken, it's meaningless to guard these dead things. Dr. Zhao, just let it go, I only hope that you won't fail. Won't fail, won't fail. Dr. Zhao shivered, his lips were also trembling. You don't know how many times I've used the computer to simulate it. Then it's decided. As the first national scholar, Fire Cloud Evil God gave orders at this time to show his authority as the first national scholar. Dr. Zhao, you stay in the upper mountain villa and make the thing as soon as possible. After half an hour, all the people will go out. Tonight, let's go all out. Almost everyone was packing up. The emergency notice had been sent out. Momo looked at the clear Mount Tai, the people of the administration, the people of Taoism and the monster race who were busy shuttling in the Wulong villa. Suddenly, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. He remembered that it was only 1 year ago when he went down the mountain. At that time, he had learned a lot and traveled down the mountain, killing some evil monsters and driving away some malicious ghosts. It wasn't thrilling, but it was the happiest time for him. Taoist Master Taoism of Dragon Tiger Mountain should be like this, it should be like this. Those days were truly the happiest days of his life. Even though he had only been reminiscing about the past 20 years of cultivation with his master, Long River Taoist, on Mount Longhu, this short journey of slaying demons was truly the most fulfilling and happiest days of his life. Cultivation should be like this. Shouldn't it be like this? But now it was strange, wasn't it? In the hurried crowd, Momo saw Yen Xiaoxi who was giving orders. He walked over subconsciously. Time was pressing and Yen Xiaoxi didn't want to waste too much time with Momo. At first, she kept Momo only because she could find a breakthrough from him, but now, even if Momo still had such a possibility, it seemed to be useless. Tonight, Tian Xin 71 generation would officially push Kelowna into an abyss. Section Chief Yen. What can I do? Momo took a deep breath, asking sincerely. Yen Xiaoxi answered quickly, You can stay here and take care of your friends. Momo gave a start, saying subconsciously, I can also fight. Although I'm not strong, I can help. Yen Xiaoxi said indifferently, Not strong? But you're not weak. At least among the younger generation, you're in the first echelon. But the next battle will be tough, we don't need unprepared forces. Prepared? Yen Xiaoxi said seriously, Your eyes are full of hesitation. On the battlefield, we don't need hesitant people. Momo opened his mouth, but Yen Xiaoxi stuffed a set of equipment from the administration of administration into his hands. You can join the battle, but I hope you'll join after you've made up your mind, and I hope you can make it. Saying this, Yen Xiaoxi walked away with big strides, because he didn't have much time. He still needed to negotiate with the 100 Tribulation Taoist and the few old monsters of the spirit beasts for the last time. Momo held the set of equipment in his hands, walking alone in Crouching Dragon Villa. He didn't remember when those people were ready. His footsteps were messy like a flood, rushing out of the gate of the villa at some point, until it became extremely quiet here. Even the sound of leaves rustling was so clear. In the end, I didn't do anything. Momo smiled bitterly. He once wanted to know the truth, but was rejected by that senior because he wasn't ready. He planned to join the battle, but Yen Xiaoxi also rejected him because he wasn't ready. Why are you two still here? The last batch of people has gathered outside. At this moment, Momo heard a conversation in the corridor. He looked over subconsciously. It was the conversation of several agents from the administration of administration. We received the order to guard the prisoners, so we won't go. That man answered, There's a man in black captured by 100 Tribulation Taoists. But, to be honest, I'd rather join the battle. Guarding the prisoners is also important. That agent nodded, saying in a low voice, It's also great. Well, I'm leaving now. Good luck. Come back and drink with us. Okay. Come back and drink with us. It was a simple farewell without any hesitation. Are they ready? Momo thought. The prisoner caught by 100 Tribulation Taoist. I've never seen him before. Momo walked over subconsciously. The two agents frowned when they saw Momo walking over. However, they hesitated when they saw the set of equipment in his hand. Who are you? Why haven't we seen you before? He was not like those Dao demons who had already made a name for themselves. He had just started his career less than a year ago. The administrative bureau might have his information, but not all the agents could memorize it. Moreover, there had been a lot of changes in personnel in the past few days. I'm Momo, from Dragon Tiger Mountain. Momo. Oh, I remember. One of the agents nodded. Is the young man who was treated in the basement with you? Momo nodded. Don't you want to go? The other agent looked at him with surprise. It was easy to see Momo's wandering state. I wanted to go, but I was rejected. Momo smiled bitterly. Your section chief told me that we don't need unprepared people. Hesitant? Probably. Momo sighed with a complicated expression. I can't put it into words. Are you afraid? Momo shook his head, but suddenly said, Can I see the prisoner? Sorry. The two agents shook their heads at the same time. It's a serious criminal, we can't let you see him without permission. Go ahead. Okay. Momo nodded. The two agents let out a sigh of relief when they saw Momo was persuaded to leave. Then, they went back to their posts, but at this moment, 2 yellow talismans were printed on their back. The two of them lost consciousness and fell to the ground. At this moment, Momo turned around and came to them. Sorry? I just want to ask something. So he took a deep breath, pushing open the door with a special talisman seal, and walked in. The air in the pitch-dark room was rather stuffy. A sound was heard as the shoulder bone was locked by the Peepa mountain lock. His hair was disheveled and the ground was covered with sweat. The man seemed to have heard the sound. He slowly raised his head, and a horrible face appeared in front of Momo. He lost an eye and should have 2 horns on his head, but one of them was broken, leaving only one, and blood was spurting out from his mouth. You don't think you can get anything out of me? He looked at Momo with a hoarse voice. His remaining eye was emitting deep-seated hatred. Momo shook his head. I'm not from the administration. Then what are you doing here? He frowned. I also want to ask something. Momo took a deep breath, walking forward step by step. You. Why? What exactly do you hate? Is it really because the heavens and earth have restricted your development that you are so mad? Millions of souls. How could you do that? Why do you hate? Why are you so crazy? Ha 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 ha! He laughed crazily. The heaven and earth limited us, but if the heaven and earth really want to abandon us, we'll accept it. How many of us have given up and planned to spend the rest of our lives just to see the scenery of this world again? But, he widened his eyes, uttering a voice full of hatred. But, they shouldn't have captured my whole clan. They shouldn't have experimented on my clansmen. Do you know how my horn was broken? Do you know how I lost my eye? They dug out my inner core, studied my body, and did numerous experiments. My wife, my child, they were all cut open in front of me. Do you know how my child died? It had been drained of all its blood while it was still alive, because some of you wanted to cure the disease. For longevity. I'll never forget this hatred. If the heaven wanted to destroy us, we had no choice. We retreated again and again, just to prolong our lives. But if the man wanted to destroy us, we wouldn't obey. He struggled crazily, trying to break free from the loot lock, like a wounded antelope. I'll never forget this hatred. If the heaven wanted to destroy us, we had no choice. We retreated again and again, just to prolong our lives. But if the man wanted to destroy us, we wouldn't obey. Chapter 1136. In the dimly lit room, the roaring demons remaining, I was covered in dense veins of blood. The color of blood was slowly seeping out from the depths of its eyes. Because of the tugging, the wound caused by the Peepa lock kept bleeding. It looked like an evil ghost. Momo took half a step back subconsciously. Before he went down the mountain, his master, Long River Taoist, told him that there were not only beautiful things in the world, but also evil and dirty things that you couldn't imagine. You're scared. You're stepping back. The wounded monster grinned. You're ashamed of what you've done. You're hesitating. Momo lowered his head, quietly listening to the monster's mockery. After a long time, when the monster stopped panting due to tiredness, Momo said faintly, "Once upon a time, a predecessor told me that the coldest thing in the world is the human heart, but the warmest thing is also the human heart." The wounded monster was still panting, but the blood in its eyes didn't fade away. It stared at Momo as if that was its only weapon, sharp, terrifying, crazy, and fearless. Momo took in a deep breath, raising his head and looking at it. I believe this sentence is suitable for the monster race or Tao sect. Although this world is dark and dirty, it's mostly peaceful and tranquil. Most people don't have too much malice in their lives. You can say they're mediocre, but you can also say they're quiet. They have their country, laws and morals, so the good is greater than the evil. I can understand your hatred, but I don't agree with you. I don't agree with your practice of sacrificing millions of people. Bullshit. The wounded monster roared. What do you understand? Is it your relatives who were cruelly killed in front of your eyes? Or they shed tears of blood in front of you, asking you to save them, but you couldn't do anything? Have you ever watched your own child starve to death before your eyes? No. What you said is bullshit. Bullshit. I don't need your approval. I have nowhere to vent my hatred. I've lived a peaceful life in the deep mountains and forests. I followed the rules of the three realms and restrained my clansmen from taking the initiative to step into the human world. What did I do wrong? Now, you still want to use your sense of justice and conscience to force it on me. You treated me cruelly, but you didn't allow me to take revenge. You eat the flesh of my clansmen, drink the blood of my children, but you don't allow me to kill, you don't allow me to be dissatisfied, and you only allow me to obey? Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. One day, when the roles of man and demon are reversed, when I slaughter your loved ones and eat your flesh and blood, will you be able to smile at me? Do you dare to swear? You can do it. Momo subconsciously finally avoided his eyes. Scram! Don't be a hypocrite. The monster gritted his teeth, pulling his body crazily, turning the chain of the pipa into a straight line. He came to the front of Momo, less than half an arm's distance. This was the limit. Brat! You don't know the sufferings of the human world. You don't know the evils of the human heart. You don't know our hatred. If you don't have the ability to eliminate all the injustice in the world, if you don't have the ability to eliminate all the evil in the world, you shouldn't be kind and shouldn't preach to others. If you can't do it, don't boast. Don't disgust me. Scram! In an instant, a crazy and ruthless aura spread out from his body. The dim room seemed to be filled with a face that had struggled out of the abyss. It was a face formed by countless crying, despairing, and empty gazes. Save me, don't kill me, Father, sorrowful cry. Momo retreated in fright, instinctively retreating, until he got out of the room unconsciously, closing the door in a flurry. He stuck the seal with trembling hands, then knelt down on the ground weakly, scared. He hadn't seen the truth yet. Momo looked at the small piece of blue sky in the thick fog with hollow eyes. He suddenly realized why that senior said he wasn't ready yet. I was resisting from the bottom of my heart, right, senior? The door of the underground infirmary opened slowly. The young nurse who hadn't had a good rest for a long time was dozing off, but she woke up easily. Hearing the sound, she slowly raised her head and saw Momo walking in silently. This Mr. Momo spent most of his time here accompanying the patients. Most of the time, he would watch them for several hours without speaking much. He was a very quiet person, but his appearance should be quite sunny. Mr. Momo, do you want some hot tea? You don't look well. The young nurse came to Momo, bringing him a cup of hot tea. Momo looked at her silently. Her face wasn't delicate, but it looked very ordinary. Only her smile seemed to be infectious. Momo took it over subconsciously, putting his palm on the cup and holding it still. What's wrong? Seeing Momo holding the cup still, the young nurse couldn't help being curious. You have something on your mind. Are you worried about the things outside? Momo forced a smile, seeming to comfort this young girl who was working seriously. The young nurse stuck out her tongue. Actually, I'm scared too. I thought it would be safer to work in the infirmary, but I didn't expect to be in such a horrible place. Momo gave a start, looking at this young girl. He found her body was slightly trembling. This young girl didn't have any spiritual power wave, nor was she a martial artist. She was just an ordinary person. In this crouching dragon mountain villa, even if the Taoist and the powerful monster clan tried to hide their aura, they still released their aura unintentionally, making this place like a huge dye vat. How could a mortal bear with all kinds of powerful aura? Momo thought for a while, grabbing the young girl's wrist, shaking his head under her slightly flustered gaze. Relax. A warm current gushed out from her wrist and then spread throughout the little girl's body, making her feel warm. You can't stand it here with your body, Momo said softly. I'll help you clear some of the monster aura on your body, or you'll be sick in the future. Thank you so much, Mr. Momo. The young nurse was pleasantly surprised, because the warm aura made her feel much better. That's all I can do. Momo smiled bitterly, letting go of the young girl's wrist. That's not great. The little girl opened her eyes wide and said, Me? I never knew that there were so many powerful people in this world. There are even monsters and whatnot. After becoming a member of the administration, my worldview was totally changed. The young girl's face turned red. Momo smiled. Do you regret it now? Of course. The young girl shrugged. How can I not regret it? I don't dare to tell my family about it. Although it's a secret in the administration, I feel I'll be sick if I keep it to myself. Then you, Mr. Momo. The young girl suddenly grabbed Momo's arm forcefully. Her eyes didn't calm down because of the comfort, instead, she became more panicked. Will we be okay? I haven't been home for a month. Not even during the new year. I can't contact my parents, they must be worried about me. Will we be okay? I want to go home so much. Can you take me away? You're a powerful cultivator, right? I saw Section Chief Yen was very polite to you. Mr. Momo, can I beg you? I don't want to stay here. Looking at her panic-stricken eyes, that trace of rosy complexion instantly paled once again. It turned out that she had long since reached the limit of what she could bear. What are you doing? Suddenly, the young girl held Momo's palm, pressing it on her chest. I can do anything, as long as you can take me away from here. It was incomparably soft to the touch. Momo had never touched this place before. I really can. The young girl stood on tiptoe, her trembling lips stuck on Momo's lips. It wasn't warm, it was a bit dry, but it was forceful. Her body was so close to him, and her hands were hugging him tightly. It was as if she wanted to squeeze his entire body into hers. She was so scared. I beg you, Momo subconsciously hugged her, his palm gently placed on her back, feeling her more obvious trembling. He spat out his magic power from his palm. The young girl was stunned, only feeling her eyes getting heavier. Finally, she fell into Momo's arms. He helped the young nurse to a chair at the side and put her down. Then, he took a coat and put it on her. If you don't have the ability to eliminate all the injustice in this world, if you don't have the ability to eliminate all the evil in this world, you don't need to be kind. What do you understand? Is it your family members who were cruelly killed in front of you? Or they shed tears of blood in front of you, asking you to save them, but you can't do anything? Momo clenched his fists, then suddenly sat down cross-legged, forcing himself to enter the state of meditation. He gradually threw away all the troubles in his heart, leaving only one thought. Not long after, he felt as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. Mr. Momo, are you calling me? Finally, a voice rang in his ears. Momo slowly opened his eyes. This wasn't the place he had been to for several times. It was still the underground treatment room. However, the young girl in front of him and Jean Eyre, who was in the isolation ward, were gone. This place was like another place, a mirrored world. It was just him and the boss. I happened to be nearby. The boss's voice and smile could always calm people down. Senior. Momo took in a deep breath, standing up. This time I want to know. Really? Luochio looked at Momo, asking with a faint smile. Momo shook his head. Then what do you want? But before that, Momo took in a deep breath and asked seriously, I want to know how you define good and evil, Senior. You told me before that the coldest and warmest thing in the world is human heart. Then, what's the definition of good and evil? Why are there black, white and gray? Luochio kept silent for a while. We do provide consultation service for customers. But I'm sorry, Mr. Momo, I can't answer your questions. Is there a price? Momo gave a start, then realized. This senior was the boss of that place. Not really. Luochio shook his head. You should know that the so-called answer is in everyone's heart. Is the answer given by others worth your reference? Is it worth becoming your answer? It's too difficult. Any slight deviation will lead to a different result. Even if you know my answer, it only represents my personal answer. And I don't represent others, nor can I represent you. So, what's the difference between knowing it or not? And if you force yourself to know, will you feel in the future that I was actually intentionally leading you to a result that I wanted? Senior, you're not that kind of person. Momo shook his head. If you are that kind of person, then, when we met for the first time, I might have become your customer. So, please tell me, even if it's just for reference. Luocio thought for a while, suddenly saying, I'm sorry, I still won't tell you my definition of good and evil. However, I can provide you with a paid service so that you can figure it out for yourself. What do you think? Paid? Momo murmured, then took a deep breath. Okay. Don't worry, even if it's paid, it won't be too high. Luocio smiled faintly. Although it's a paid service, it's just an experience. How about exchanging 30 years of your life for 2 reincarnations? Reincarnation? Momo gave a start. Luocio waved his hand, and a strong pulling force pulled Momo into a whirlpool. When the whirlpool disappeared, this underground treatment room was like a broken mirror. All the scenes cracked, and it recovered to its original appearance. The little girl was still sleeping on the chair. In the isolated ward, Jean-Eyre's heartbeat was jumping along with her breathing. Good and evil, black and white and gray. Luocio murmured, I also want to know. A swaying force pushed Momo's body to one side. In a split second, his head seemed to hit something, so he woke up. The dazzling sunlight crashed into his eyes. He saw a silver sea on the winding mountain road, on this shabby country bus. Next stop, Louis Village. Chapter 1137. Do you think it's suitable? The girl had the special style of a seaside fishing village, simple yet tolerable, like a sky full of stars, and the food in front of him was really fragrant, which made Momo swallow his saliva. Thank you. Momo nodded. Though he was hungry, he didn't gorge himself. Instead, he ate a few mouthfuls. It tastes good. Did you cook it yourself? The girl nodded with a smile, looking a bit shy. She was in the prime of her youth. She seemed to recall something, saying, Oh, I washed your clothes this morning and hung them outside. I'll take them back after they dry in the afternoon. I'm really sorry. Momo apologized. The weather was fine when I came here yesterday, but it rained heavily not long after I got off the bus. The girl tucked her hair behind her ear, telling Momo that this kind of weather was very common at the seaside. She didn't continue to disturb Momo's meal, but started to clean up this family-run hotel. Momo inquired that the girl's name was Louis Yun, her father was Louis Hai, her mother was Luoyu, and she had a sick grandfather. A very common family in a fishing village, at least it looked like that. After Louis Yun left, Momo spat out the food he had just eaten. He took out a talisman from his body, clamping it between his fingers. The talisman burned instantly, turning into a spiritual light, scattering on the food on the table. For a while, there was no reaction. I hope it's a well-behaved monster. Momo murmured, suddenly feeling it was a waste to spit out the food. The taste was really good, simple ingredients could make such a taste. This was the second day since he came to the seaside fishing village. The small seaside place was very tranquil, with few tourists, or in other words, it was hard for outsiders to integrate into this isolated place. Louis Village looked so lonely on the edge of the cliff. Louis Yun's home was even closer to the cliff, and there were still several kilometers to walk to the village, which made it even more lonely. Momo didn't forget why he came here. The legend of the sea monster. After a few days, he still couldn't find any concrete clues. He only occasionally heard some taboo old stories from the villagers. Whenever he tried to get more information from the elders in the village, they would always turn around and leave or scold him as if he was an evil spirit and drive him away. Within a few days, everyone in the village knew that there was a young man who came to inquire about the past. Therefore, when Momo walked on the small path, he always met strange and vigilant eyes. When Momo thought that the legend was just a legend, a young man appeared in front of him. He also came in the rain, awkwardly pushing open the door of Louis Yun's hotel. Unlike him, who dyed his hair blonde and made it seem to be an outdated trend, this young man who was as young as him had long hair and casually tied it behind his head. The moment he entered the door, Momo sensed the special thing of Taoist cultivators from his body, the wave of spiritual power. The sky was completely dark, and the hotel halfway up the mountain seemed to be in the middle of a storm. The old door in the room was creaking because of this. The young man with tied hair also noticed Momo, who was eating at the table. His eyes brightened, coming to Momo. "Can I sit down?" Momo made a gesture of please. He even poured a cup of hot tea for the young man to drive away the cold. The young man politely received it with both hands. But when he held the teacup, he found the teacup in Momo's hands was steady, as if it had taken root. The young man smiled faintly, gradually exerting his strength. The owner of the hotel, who was dozing off in front of the counter, curiously looked at the hands of the two young men. At this moment, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the room. The owner of the hotel was startled and subconsciously patted her chest. At this time, the two young men had separated, they just sat facing each other. "Momo. Yifei." They looked at each other and smiled. When Momo was cultivating on the mountain, his favorite book wasn't the scriptures hidden in Dragon Tiger Mountain, but a martial arts novel that his master used as a pillow. He didn't like the plot of killing people in the novel, but he liked the story of chivalry. He felt immortal cultivation was ethereal, and love in Jianghu was more down to earth. Yifei was a master at the same age and cultivation level as him. The reason why he called her a master was because Momo thought he should be a master. Otherwise, how could he travel in Jianghu? Yifei's appearance was indeed what Momo had been dreaming of. In the wind and rain, in the shabby hotel, the two masters inadvertently tested each other, and then introduced themselves. Yifei was a disciple of a hidden sect. She had been out for training for some time. This time, she came here because she heard some weird legends in this remote fishing village, so she wanted to find out the truth. Tianshi Taoism of Dragon Tiger Mountain, Brother Imo, so you came from a famous sect. Sorry for my rudeness. Yifei was gentle and elegant, like a young master in a Jianghu novel. You flatter me, Brother Ye's sect is not bad. Even though the other party had only mentioned his sect, he really did not have any impression of it. Even though Taoism had declined, there were many branches of Taoism in the world. Even the older generation might not know all of them, let alone the so-called hidden Taoism. While talking, Yifei suddenly lowered her voice. Since Brother Imo chose to live here, have you noticed the monster Qi here? Momo knew what Yifei was talking about, then he smiled. There's a little girl in this house with a bit of monster Qi, but she shouldn't be the sea monster we're looking for. If they are little demons that know their place and live an honest life, we will not care. Yifei didn't say anything, but asked the landlady to bring a bottle of local homebrewed wine to drink with Momo. Maybe it was because there were only him and his master on Dragon Tiger Mountain, so he didn't see his peers. Yifei's appearance seemed to make up for the lack of friends since childhood. Momo, who had a good tolerance for alcohol, was a little drunk that night. When he woke up, it was already late in the morning. The sudden storm had stopped when he woke up, but the blue flowers in the garden downstairs were still wet with last night's rain. But Momo didn't find Yifei. According to the landlady of the hotel, she went out early in the morning. Maybe she went to inquire about the news? He didn't have time to tell her that he had inquired about a lot of things these days, but got nothing. Momo patted his head with annoyance, thinking that he was too happy and forgot about the business. He planned to go out to find Yifei, but he saw the little girl being scolded by the landlady at the door. There was a red mark on the little girl's arm, and her eyes were red. Momo couldn't stand it, so he coughed and walked away. Then the landlady Luo Iyu restrained herself and left quickly after scolding the little girl in a low voice. The little girl lowered her head, picking up the things on the ground. She glanced at Momo shyly and turned around. She was going to dry the clothes, but she accidentally knocked them over and got scolded. This person isn't your biological mother, is she? Momo's voice suddenly sounded behind the little girl, which made the little girl tremble slightly before stopping. Momo walked up to her. Louis Yun's face was a little pale. What did you say? How could she not be my biological mother? The little girl shook her head. Momo suddenly grabbed Louis Yun's wrist as fast as lightning, which made her feel pain. Momo said in a low voice, "Believe it or not, I can make you show your original appearance right away. I'd like to see how an ordinary person with a bad face could give birth to a little monster." Golden light flashed in his eyes, his face was solemn like a dharma. I don't know what you're talking about, let go of me." The little girl was scared and flustered. "Still don't want to admit it? Then don't blame me." Momo's face darkened, his voice cold. Though he just came down from the mountain, he had killed some man-eating little monsters and some ferocious ghosts, so he had some killing intent on his body. "Don't." The little girl trembled out of fear. "Don't. I didn't mean to lie to you. I just don't know how to say it." "Then say it." Momo suddenly let go of Louis Yun's wrist. "But you'd better be honest. Because I'm an exorcist." Don't do it here." The little girl suddenly looked up at the attic behind her. "Follow me." Golden Flower Ant pushed the young man away in a hurry. She couldn't speak clearly. Go, I don't know anything. Don't ask me." "Damn it, why is there another person asking? Go." Wasn't this the third one? Yi Fei thoughtfully looked at the Golden Flower Ant's expression. Then, she formed a seal behind her back and snorted coldly. Golden Flower Ant was stunned by the scolding, absent-mindedly. Yi Fei asked in a low voice, "Old lady, just tell me what you know about that year, I won't hurt you." The old man in front of him slowly talked about the past. The taboo things that the fishing village had done back then. Behind the hotel on the hillside, there was a small cabin used to store sundries and firewood. Louis Yun took Momo to this place, and then rolled up her sleeves to her elbows. Then, she saw some things that were different for looking for people. Scales. There weren't a lot of green scales, only a small area. They didn't even look ugly, just like decorations on her fair arms. "I don't know what happened to me," Louis Yun sobbed. "I was afraid at first, afraid that others would know about you. My mother isn't my biological mother, my father took her back." "So, your father is a monster?" Momo frowned. There were many problems in the union between a human and a monster. Momo realized that he hadn't met the boss of this hotel, Louis Yun's father. "I don't know." Louis Yun shook her head. Momo thought for a while, saying, "If you don't mind, give me a drop of your blood." Under Momo's serious gaze, Louis Yun had to find a wooden splinter, piercing her finger and dripping a drop of blood. Momo took out a talisman from where the blood dripped. The little girl didn't know what Momo was murmuring, but the talisman suddenly shone magically. "Well, you're a half-monster." After a while, Momo took back the talisman, staring at Louis Yun. "You're a half-monster, your bloodline might come from your father or your mother. I'll know where your father is after I meet him. He drank too much and had a stomachache. Now he's recuperating in the clinic in the village. He hasn't come back for days." Louis Yun looked at Momo, asking nervously, What do you want to do?" Momo waved his hand. "A country has its own laws, and a family has its own rules. Don't worry, I won't kill a monster who knows its place. And we've made an agreement. But, if I know you've hurt someone, don't blame me." Louis Yun stepped back in fright. Momo shrugged. "Don't worry, I've seen monsters living in the city who work hard to earn money to support their families. I'll say it again, I won't kill a monster who knows its place. Besides, I haven't fallen to the point where I need to get rid of a demon like you who isn't a threat at all to prove myself." Really? I'll tell you after I meet your father." Momo shook his head. "Maybe your bloodline comes from your mother? Then, your father might be a victim." The girl didn't speak. Momo glanced at her. Maybe she has thought a lot since she found her body was different from normal people? Nothing for now. Momo smiled. How about this? I'll keep it a secret for you for the time being. But you'd better pay more attention to it. Momo said seriously, you're a half monster, and you have more rationality than normal monsters. But you have the bloodline of a normal monster. When your rationality can't suppress the monster in your body, you'll probably lose control. For example, you'd better avoid your stepmother. Otherwise, she'll explode one day. But don't blame me if that happens. Lui Yun lowered her head, not daring to speak. He wanted to go down the mountain to find Yi Fei, but he was delayed by Lui Yun's matter. An afternoon had passed when Momo told the girl about the rules outside. At this time, Yi Fei came back. Brother Yi, I'm sorry, I didn't expect to be so drunk. Let's not talk about this. Yi Fei said, Brother Mo, I found something when I went down the mountain today, please take a look. What? Chapter 1138. Fairy. In Momo's room in the hotel, Yi Fei told him what she had heard. This iron box was found under the ruins of this fairy's home. It should be some kind of charlatan in the countryside before the Four Olds. Yi Fei expressed her opinion. In the old days, most of the people in the countryside were ignorant. Outsiders often used some small knowledge of chemistry and physics to fool the people. Momo rubbed his eyebrows, looking at Yi Fei with a strange expression. Brother Yi, we're both cultivators. It's so weird to talk about chemistry and physics here. Yi Fei shrugged. With the development of science, people gradually forgot about another kind of power, but I can't say whether it's good or bad. Momo was surprised. Why do you say so? Yi Fei smiled. Brother Mo, what do you think about the power of your dragon tiger mountain? Momo gave a start, frowning. My sect focuses on exorcising ghosts and demons. With the help of the talisman technique, my master said it's stronger than other orthodoxies. But Taoism is broad and profound, so it's hard to say which sect is more powerful. Yi Fei shook her head, saying indifferently, Brother Mo, just tell me, what do you think about the power of your Taoist technique? Momo was silent for a while. It's very powerful, many techniques can't be used easily. Yi Fei nodded. That's right, Brother Mo. There are many branches of Taoism in the world. For thousands of years, the predecessors created and the descendants carried forward, making this system extremely complex and powerful. In ancient times, many disciples of Taoism had to persevere for dozens of years to get in touch with Taoist techniques, and it was very likely that they had only scratched the surface. But now, Brother Mo, when did you start to practice Taoist techniques? When I was 14, my master taught me the first Taoist technique, 5 ghosts transfer. Momo said casually, then waved his hand. The teacup on the table seemed to be held by something, slowly floating into his hand. Brother Mo, you're good at martial arts. Yi Fei smiled. Brother Mo, you've already started to practice Taoist techniques at 14 years old. I can only say that you're very talented, but it also proves the progress of Taoism. After thousands of years of condensing and summarizing, it was already able to allow the later generations to take fewer detours. Actually, it wasn't just Brother Mo. Many Tao sects had also started to let their young disciples cultivate Tao technique. However, if you stop and think about it, this is probably a sign of the decline of the Tao sects. Brother Mo, do you understand what I mean? Momo thought for a while and frowned. You mean, the Tao sects were prosperous in the past, so they didn't lack disciples. That's why they always let their disciples temper themselves. Before cultivating martial arts, they had to cultivate their minds first. Only when they were ready did they let go of the Tao cultivation. Now they've been forced to change their strategy? Do you know why? Yi Fei suddenly asked. Momo shook his head subconsciously. Yi Fei sighed and said, in order to not let the inheritance be broken. Brother Mo, think about it. If we still follow the old way of cultivating the heart before cultivating immortality, how many years would we waste? Modern people are eager for quick success and quick benefit. How many people could calm down and meditate for dozens of years and cultivate qi day after day? I don't deny the existence of such people, and they are even the true successors of the Tao sects. But it's too hard to find such people. We have no choice. If we cut off the inheritance, we'd be ashamed of our ancestors. Therefore, we have no choice but to settle for the second best. If so, won't it cause the Tao heart to be unstable? Momo said solemnly, people can easily lose themselves because of great power. It's just like the science in the world today. Yi Fei said indifferently, the explosive development of science only happened in the past 100 or 200 years. But whether it's ability or power, it's focused on changing and even destroying the world. Now it's already in the hands of most people. Brother Mo, do you think it's a good thing? Momo shook his head. Yi Fei sighed, the same goes for the Tao sections. They lowered the threshold to prevent the inheritance from being broken. Isn't it another kind of science? Brother Yi, you're worrying too much. Momo shook his head. Yi Fei said, Brother Mo, after the establishment of Xian, in order to prevent the evil cultivators from harming the common people, there was a large-scale extermination. Do you know that? Momo nodded. I heard from my master that Shinryu of Kelowna and Xinyuan Palace worked together to wipe out all the evil sects in Kelowna within a few months. All the evil cultivators were either crippled, suppressed, or killed on the spot. Yi Fei said, actually, many of these evil cultivators used to belong to orthodox Taoist sections. However, it was precisely because the Tao sect had lowered their threshold that they had gone astray. Since ancient times, there weren't many evil and evil sects. Demons came from the heart and demons came from Tao. Momo heaved a sigh, I see. Yi Fei paused at this moment and then said, however, even if the evil cultivators were basically wiped out, Xian still established the administration. In these decades, there were still many evil Taoists who abused Tao. Demons can't be eradicated. As long as there are evil thoughts in the heart, demons will appear. Momo sighed, so Brother Yi, you said that even if cultivation is forgotten by the world, it's hard to say whether it's good or bad. Yi Fei slowly closed her eyes. This made Momo's heart heavy, but his master only asked him to go down the mountain to gain experience. It was too monotonous to only kill some evil spirits and disobedient little monsters. This kind of discussion with his peers seemed to be necessary, right? Demons came from the heart, Momo was moved, asking subconsciously, Brother Yi, if you meet a demon, what will you do? Yi Fei slowly opened her eyes, with cold light in her eyes, saying in a low voice, eliminate all evil. Since the degeneration of Tao sects is irreversible, we can only rely on the later generations to remove it bit by bit. When all the impurities are removed, it will be clear. Momo opened his mouth, but at this moment, he wasn't shocked by Yi Fei's words, but the clarity in his eyes. After that, Yi Fei left with the box, saying that she would find a way to investigate the origin of the thing in the box. She also left some test tubes in the box for Momo. She probably thought that Momo might have a chance to investigate it. But in fact, they didn't have to separate like this. Momo actually thought that it was possible for them to cooperate in the investigation. He suddenly felt that he might be a rather eccentric person who was a loner. Recalling that Yi Fei had mentioned the name of his sect, Momo thought for a while before taking out his phone and calling Taoist Changhe, who was far away in Dragon Tiger Mountain, who had led him to cultivate immortality. Momo looked at the convenient phone in his hand, muttering, "Where's science? Hello? Brat, what did you say? Old man, let me ask you something. Have you heard of the ultimate Tao sect? Ultimate ruins? What the hell? Never heard of it. Why do you suddenly ask about it?" Momo casually told him about his encounter with Yi Fei and the things that happened in the fishing village. "I don't have any impression of ultimate ruins. I just checked the dictionary of Tao sects, it's also recorded in it. But from what you've said, he seems to know a lot about Shenzhou. Logically speaking, It's impossible for him to not report to the administration. Could it be that he's really one of those secluded sects? Or perhaps, what are you talking about? Momo said impatiently, Old man, can you not speak in paragraphs? Stinking brat, tell me everything you said in detail. Don't miss a single word. Recite. Momo wailed loudly, but still closed his eyes, recalling word by word. Taoist Changhe didn't say anything for a long while. When Momo was about to lose his patience, Taoist Changhe's voice came from the phone. The younger generation wouldn't know about the annihilation of Demon Sect. Because we've made an agreement, we won't tell others about it. That guy is about your age, and he's from a secluded sect, so he shouldn't know about it. It's unreasonable unless… Unless what? Unless he's one of those evil cultivators that were annihilated. Taoist Changhe's voice was a bit deep. There were many twists and turns in the annihilation. No one said that all the evil cultivators had been wiped out. Evil Tao cultivators are extremely cunning to begin with. It's not impossible for someone to secretly avoid a calamity. Old man, this brother Yi doesn't look like one, does he? Like me, he also heard about the legend of the sea monster, so he came here to annihilate the demon. It's just my assumption. Anyway, this guy has a mysterious background. You should pay more attention to him and don't trust him easily. Momo nodded. Yi Fei came and went like a ghost, so Momo couldn't even grasp his whereabouts. Of course, there were other ways to track him. But Momo felt it was a bit offensive to track his whereabouts with Taoist magic arts. Anyway, he couldn't confirm Yi Fei's background. But there was one thing that could be put on the agenda. The little girl's father, Louis Hai, came back from the village clinic tonight. It was the first time that Momo saw this haggard middle-aged man. Louis Hai's face was a bit pale because of the serious illness. After Louis Hai came back, he was scolded by his wife, Luoyu. Facing her mother's scolding, the little girl could only hide far away. She wanted to do something but couldn't. Momo found the little girl, Louis Yun, boiling water in the kitchen. The little girl was a bit scared of this mysterious young man who had seen through her identity. She grabbed the corner of her clothes nervously, lowering her head and not daring to look at him. Momo sighed. He had seen a lot of monsters, but it was the first time for him to see such a weak one. He shook his head. Louis Yun, your father has come back. Do you still remember what I told you this afternoon? Louis Yun nodded and then shook her head, gritting her teeth. My father can't be a monster. So, it's your biological mother who is a monster? Momo continued. The little girl wanted to say something, but she couldn't stand it and didn't say anything. Momo's voice became softer. Where did your bloodline come from? As long as you get me a drop of your father's blood, you'll know. It's not difficult for you, right? You also want to know your origin, don't you? Don't worry, if your father is just an ordinary person, I won't do anything. Then, if, there's no such thing as if. Momo shook his head. Do you remember what I told you about the administration? They are all over the country. You just met me this time. If you meet them, it won't be so easy. Do you want to check it by force? Then, okay. Louis Yun nodded. Momo smiled. That's good. At 2:00 tonight, let's do it in the woodshed at the back. I'll wait for you. I'm going to send water to my grandpa. The little girl didn't nod. She just lowered her head, holding the kettle and trotting away. Momo watched the little girl running away. Suddenly, he patted his forehead and scolded himself. Actually, he could test the blood of this little girl's grandpa. Maybe this Louis Hai also had the bloodline of the monster race, and it came from the old man's wife? However, if that was the case, wouldn't it be more difficult to track down the culprit? Momo couldn't help grabbing his hair. But at this moment, lightning flashed several times outside the house, followed by a muffled thunders. The weather at the seaside is really unpredictable. Momo muttered as he thought of Yi Fei. I wonder if he has found something. I'm enjoying the fruits of others' labor. Late at night, it rained heavily, washing everything away. A small figure took advantage of the umbrella and braved the strong wind to quickly walk to the door of the woodshed behind the house. He quickly pushed the door open and walked in. At this moment, lightning flashed and white light filled the woodshed. She saw a pale face in front of her. Ghost! The thunders covered her scream. Well, don't be nervous. It's me. Momo took out his cell phone, illuminating himself. He looked at Louis Yun, who was startled, apologizing. I was afraid of being discovered, so I didn't turn on the light. But I was bored waiting, so I sat for a while. Besides, you're a monster, why are you afraid of ghosts? The little girl's face was pale, but she still didn't dare to look at Momo's face. She lowered her head. I've brought the thing. She seemed to be a little scared. She clenched a piece of dyed tissue tightly. Is this okay? Chapter 1139. Momo asked Louis Yun to bring her father Louis Hai's blood in the middle of the night to avoid trouble, but he didn't expect that someone would come here in such a bad weather. The footsteps were hurried and heavy. It didn't sound like someone who practiced martial arts, but an ordinary person. If he was caught with a young girl in such a place, he would be in deep trouble. Although he dyed his blonde hair a few years ago, he was still a Taoist in essence. He covered the little girl's mouth, and at the same time pulled her to a corner of the woodshed to hide. He also took away the little girl's umbrella. In the end, he even slapped the little girl. The wind from his palm raised the dust in the room and spread it over the water stain. It was done almost in one breath, and there was no sound at all. Momo was satisfied with his reaction. Sorry, I have to bear with it for a while. Even so, Momo tried his best not to touch her in the narrow space. The door opened and someone came in. It was a middle-aged man. The man took off his raincoat with a gloomy face. At the same time, he took out a kerosene lamp from the corner of the woodshed and lit it. After that, the man sat down, lit a cigarette, and started smoking. The girl and Momo saw the man's appearance with the help of the lamp. The girl opened her mouth, seeming to recognize the man. Do you know him? The voice sounded in the girl's ears, but she didn't see Momo opening his mouth. I have the ability to fight monsters, so do I. Don't make a fuss. Do you know him? Momo's voice sounded in Louis Yun's ears again. The girl nodded, looking around, dipping her finger in the water on the umbrella and writing on the floor. Village Party Secretary, Secretary Wu. Momo frowned. Why did the secretary of Louis Village come here in the middle of the night? But it didn't take them a long time to be confused. Soon, another guest came. This time, it was someone familiar to Momo and Louis Yun. She was the landlady of the hotel, Luoyu. Alas, didn't I say I wouldn't come out tonight? Do you know how hard it is for me to come here in such bad weather? A man's voice sounded. Then, a woman's voice sounded. That bastard suddenly came back today. I don't want to sleep with him. If you don't come, I'll go find you. You bastard, don't think you can eat it clean. How could this be? Rubbing against each other, panting. The sounds of pleasure gradually became louder, and the sound of the wind and rain almost covered up everything in this small house. However, the other two people who were hiding only felt tormented. Momo didn't know how she was feeling at this moment, but he felt very awkward. What should he do if he found out that his stepmother was having an affair with another man? Momo was also in despair. Calm down. Remember what I told you. Momo had to calm himself down while reminding the little girl. At this moment, the monster aura in her body seemed to be increasing. Seeing this, Momo could only reach out his finger and point at her forehead, using a secret incantation to wake her up. But Louis Yun's face was full of grief and indignation. Momo pretended that he didn't see it and continued, "They won't take long to leave if they continue like this. Let's go out after they leave, in case it's embarrassing for everyone." The Taoist priests of Dragon Tiger Mountain caught monsters, exorcised ghosts and performed rituals, but they didn't catch adulterers. The joyful voices gradually subsided, and the man and woman panted with satisfaction. Just as Momo heaved a sigh of relief, the man and woman began to talk among themselves. I want to divorce. I don't want to follow this good-for-nothing anymore. I didn't know this family is full of freaks when I married him. I can't stand it anymore. No, I'm going crazy. Wait. What are you waiting for? Wait until you're transferred and then leave? Let me tell you, no way. If you dare to leave, I'll go to your office and say we're having an affair. Don't make trouble. The man lit another cigarette and took 2 puffs. Recently, there's a project to support the development of this area. A lot of land in the nearby villages will be expropriated. Although Louis Hai has no ability, the whole mountain belongs to his family. It's under his father Louis Buhai's name. Do you understand? What do you mean? I think he's not willing to sell it. That won't do. This project is very big. I heard that the town government has found several big developers to turn this area into a seaside entertainment resort, investing billions of yuan. Your man's mountain is very valuable. Oh, you're not lying to me. Why would I lie to you? Stupid woman, don't you know how much your man's net worth is? Do you think Louis Hai's house only has a broken hotel? I only know that after looking through the information of the village, the whole mountain belongs to your man. But it's weird, the villagers are so stingy, they actually gave Louis Hai such a big mountain. It seems to be to compensate for something. Anyway, those old bastards just don't want to say. But this bastard doesn't want to sell, we can't do anything. People always come up with ideas. I think, don't divorce, you'll have nothing if you divorce. According to the property law, if you don't divorce, you'll have a share of this land. Really, if I sell it, how much money can I get? It's hard to say, the price of the land can't be too high. There are many things that need to be done, but it's not a problem to sell it for at least a few million. After all, the location of this mountain is good, developers will definitely invest here. A few million? My God. What did you say just now? I'll have a share? The premise is that he's willing to sell it. But I heard that this old bastard has lost his mind, it's hard to get him to sign it. After a while, a woman's voice suddenly sounded. Hey, if this old bastard is really dead, then, will Louis Hai's signature be effective? What do you want to do? Anyway, this old bastard is just like this, he's harming people even if he's alive, he's better off dead. You don't mess around. We're after money, not his life. Harm? He's harming people if he's alive. You don't know because you haven't taken care of him, but I'm suffering every day. Besides, this old bastard is so old, and he's not in his right mind, everyone knows that. Isn't it normal for him to take a wrong step and fall down the stairs and die? Momo felt something wrong while listening to them. These 2 people actually had the idea of murdering for money, but at this moment, Louis Yun suddenly rushed out. Her monster aura broke out instantly, and a sharp voice came out from her mouth. The sharp voice instantly shattered the glass of the window. The fierce wind blew in, blowing out the kerosene lamp instantly. Damn you! The moment the shrill cry sounded, Secretary Wu and Luo Ayu saw a black shadow rushing towards them. Under the thunder and lightning, they saw a green face full of scales. Ghost! The moment Secretary Wu saw the terrifying face, he was so scared that he fell to the ground and fainted. Luo Ayu, on the other hand, rolled and crawled out of the door with her legs wide open in horror. Bitch, I'll kill you! The sharp voice sounded behind Luo Ayu. She had no time to care about the wind, rain, thunder and lightning and the mud all over her body. She only felt cold behind her. She rolled a few meters away, only to hear the sharp sound again. Luo Ayu was scared out of her wits. In a panic, she ran down the mountain without knowing where to go. In the room, Louis Yun's back was pressed by Momo's palm, pressing her on the floor. Momo showed a solemn face, scolding in a low voice. Come! Louis Yun was struggling desperately. Calm down. If you kill someone, your life will be ruined. They're just plotting, not doing anything to your family. You don't have to lose control. But if you lose control and kill someone, I'll kill you right away. Think about your dad and grandpa. Lu Yun held her head in pain, wailing in a hoarse voice. You're a human, not a monster. Momo took a breath, turning over his palm, striking another seal on Lu Yun's back. Remember, you're a human. Lu Yun lost her consciousness, passing out directly. Momo sat down on the ground and glanced at the village secretary, who also fainted on the ground. He couldn't help frowning as he recalled the conversation between him and Luoyu. He sighed. Master is right, people's hearts are really cold. When Lu Yun woke up, she was lying on the bed in her room. Momo was sitting beside the bed with his legs crossed. She sat up subconsciously, feeling dizzy as if her head was cracked and sewn up. You're awake? Momo opened his eyes slowly. Do you feel uncomfortable? Or do you want to vomit? Be careful, your monster blood broke out suddenly. Although I suppressed it, but if there's a first time, there'll be a second time. You have to behave yourself. Lu Yun gritted her teeth, grasping the corner of the sheet. My mom. Where's that woman? She ran away. Momo shook his head. She ran down the mountain. She might be scared badly, so she hasn't come back yet. As for that Secretary Wu, he left in a flurry after waking up. You'd better not come back, the little girl said with resentment. The hatred in her eyes was scary, but Momo felt relieved inexplicably. She'd better not come back. This little girl was kind in the end. Don't worry about it, I'll deal with it. Momo shook his head. Although I'm not good at dealing with this kind of thing, it's better than you messing around. Well, I won't say more. As long as you behave yourself, I won't do anything to you. But no matter what reason you have, I'll kill you once you lose control and kill someone. He stood up. Have a good rest. Thank you. Momo suddenly stopped, saying in a low voice, Don't thank me. You should thank that lady. After all, she's the one who implemented the monster's residence management law. If it was in the past, she wouldn't be so kind. That lady? Just pretend you don't know. Anyway, you won't have a chance to see her. Momo shrugged. Anyway, I haven't seen her. Have a rest and calm yourself down. Momo closed the door, but didn't leave immediately. He leaned against Lu Yun's door and heaved a sigh. At this moment, he felt someone's gaze falling on him. At the end of the corridor, Momo looked over, seeing a pair of turbid eyes, an old man. He just stood there quietly, not saying a single word. He just looked at them like that. There was no expression on his face, as if he was thinking about something or not. When Momo wanted to ask something, the old man at the end of the corridor slowly turned around and walked back to the room step by step. Delirious. He should be Lu Yun's grandpa, Louis Buhai. Momo thought. He didn't chase after him. Thinking that Lu Yun still had the tissue with Louis Hai's blood on it, he went back to his room. Anyway, he had to do what he should do. Louis Hai, on the other hand, was probably tired after coming back. He slept like a log in his room and didn't know anything. Maybe he was more relaxed? In the wind and rain, two men were anxiously moving forward in the pouring rain. One of the men was carrying a third person on his back. He was using a raincoat to cover his body. The place they were rushing to was the only clinic in the village. Doctor, help, doctor, help! The two men rushed into the clinic, shouting in a hurry. At this moment, a man in pajamas came out. What's the matter? Brother Chaosheng, help! Come and take a look at my aunt. I don't know what's wrong with her. The young man had a frightened look on his face as he put the person on his back down from the chair. Louis Chaosheng, the only doctor in the village who had gone out for study, frowned and lifted the raincoat. He was startled at once. It was a creature whose hands and face were covered in horrifying keratin. It looked like a coral or a tree root. The village doctor was so scared that his face turned pale and he took 2 steps back. This is, Brother Louis Chaosheng, can you cure her? The man asked in horror. Let's send her in first. Louis Chaosheng, calm down, we have to see her first. I'll get the stethoscope from the room, hurry up. Okay. We'll do it right away. The man hurried to send her in. Louis Chaoxing ran to his office in a hurry, but he didn't expect that the light was on. Louis Chaoxing pushed the door open, only to see a young man sitting on his chair, flipping through the document. Who are you? What are you doing here? Louis Chaoxing was shocked. The young man raised his head, looking at Louis Chaoxing, saying expressionlessly, "Before I answer your question, why don't you tell me, what's the matter with this medical report?" Chapter 1140. Facing the mysterious young man who suddenly appeared in his office, Mr. Louis Chaoxing was frightened. Then, he became flustered, because of the question he asked, and the thing he was holding. Louis Chaoxing took a deep breath. After calming down, he pressed the lock of the office door. "Young man." Yi Fei glanced at Louis Chaoxing with an expressionless face. He lifted an iron box from the floor under the table and put it on the desk casually. Louis Chaoxing's face changed instantly. Yi Fei said indifferently, "Still don't want to tell me? I found this thing in the ruins of an old house. The things inside seem to be missing, and it was only recently that they disappeared. The soil covering it showed traces of being turned over. So I used some means to trace it, and finally came here. Then, I saw your interesting physical examination report." "I don't know what you're talking about." Louis Chaoxing's face darkened. "Let's get straight to the point." Yi Fei stood up, throwing the report on the desk. "The people in this village are all descendants of the monster race, right? It's said that there used to be a sea monster here. Are they the descendants of the sea monster? But if they are pure-blooded descendants of the monster race, they shouldn't be half-monsters. How did the monster race reproduce here? Did they rob humans to cultivate their own offspring? What do you want to do by doing this? Is it to get rid of the identity of a monster, or do you have other plans?" Louis Chaoxing frowned. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're trespassing on private property. Get out of here right now, or I'll call for help." "What's in the box? How did you know it was buried under the old house of the fairy who pretended to be mysterious? Or, do you have any relationship with her?" Louis Chaoxing gritted his teeth. His face suddenly turned ferocious. He rushed to the desk and grabbed the ballpoint pen. "You're asking too many questions?" But the person in front of him wasn't an ordinary young man who looked thin and weak. Louis Chaoxing couldn't even see his movements clearly. He felt his head sinking and then a sharp pain. He was pressed on the desk directly. He couldn't move at all, as if he was injected with anesthetic. Yi Fei pressed her palm on Louis Chaoxing's back, moving slowly. "Your ribs are missing too. The blood of the monster race in your body is very weak, but it's still there. It's really dirty, a combination of human and monster." Who are you?" Louis Chaoxing widened his eyes, looking extremely frightened. "Doctor, are you still not going to tell me?" Yi Fei took out a test tube from the box and patted it on Louis Chaoxing's face. "There seems to be some research materials about it in the secret cabinet. Have you heard of the story of Shinong tasting all kinds of herbs? Actually, if you want to do research, you should try. Why don't you try it yourself?" Watching the test tube being opened in front of him and getting close to his mouth little by little while he couldn't move, Louis Chaoxing's face became more and more frightened. In the end, he screamed, "Don't! I'll tell you everything, I'll tell you everything." "That's more like it." A smile appeared on Yi Fei's face. The talisman Momo used for the test had a reaction to Louis Hai's blood. Although the reaction was very weak, it was enough to prove that part of Louis Hai's body was a monster. But he couldn't feel any monster power from Louis Hai. That was to say, Louis Hai was closer to a real human, but Louis Yun's blood was stronger. Was it because of atavism? Momo was thinking about this until sunrise. With the revelation of Louis Hai's identity, more questions poured into Momo's mind. For example, who did Louis Hai's monster race blood come from? Was it his father Louis Buhai's or his late mother's? Since ancient times, the union between human beings and monsters has always been opposed. Then, was LV Buhai's union with his late wife clear or not? With more and more doubts in his mind, Momo heaved a sigh, walking to the window to open the curtain. The sky was still gloomy. It should be the time when the sun rose, but the sky above the sea was dark. It seemed that the storm didn't really leave last night. The rain just hid itself, and Yi Fei didn't come back last night. Mr. Momo, are you awake? Oh, yes. When he opened the door, Momo saw Lui Yun holding a plate. She got up early, cooked some porridge, and sent it to Momo. However, the little girl's expression didn't look too good. Are you still worried about what happened last night? Momo asked while eating. Lui Yun shook her head. That woman hasn't come back yet. When my dad wakes up and asks about it, I don't know how to answer him. Hasn't come back yet? Momo opened his mouth with surprise, then frowned. Mr. Momo, is it possible that she met with an accident? Lui Yun asked with a complex expression. After all, it rained heavily last night, the road was dark, and she was so flustered. It's possible. Momo put down the spoon. Well, I'll go out and look for her. She should be fine. Although your stepmother has a bad heart, she doesn't look like she'll die young. Maybe she's too scared to find a place to hide. If you find her, will you bring her back? Lui Yun plucked up her courage and asked. Are you afraid that you'll lose your mind again if you see her again? Momo frowned. Lui Yun kept silent. Momo stood up. For you, she might be worth hating. But for me, as long as she hasn't made any mistakes, she's still a human life. Of course, she needs to be educated. If you're really worried about yourself, why don't you find an excuse to stay in the room and try not to come out? Lui Yun took a deep breath. No need, I'll go with you. There's something I want to tell her face to face. Momo hesitated for a moment. As the saying goes, the one who tied the bell should untie it. Then he agreed. The two of them went out quietly. But they didn't find Luo Ayu's trace on the way. Then they came to the village at the foot of the mountain. But the village was very quiet at this moment, so quiet that they couldn't see anyone. It's strange, haven't the villagers woken up yet? Momo looked at the streets and alleys strangely. To be honest, the village was not big. There were only 70 to 80 families and hundreds of people, but it was over 8 o'clock in the morning, there should be no one. No, we all get up early to work. Lui Yun also looked around with doubt. Momo suddenly frowned and stopped. His eyebrows were knitted tightly. Mr. Momo, what's wrong? Wait, there's a smell of blood. What? At this moment, a figure rushed out crazily from the side alley. It was a man. But there were a lot of wounds on the man's body, almost dyed with blood. His face was full of fear. He ran all the way and rushed towards Momo and Lui Yun when he saw them. But before he could take a few steps, he had already fallen to the ground. After he fell, he saw that there was a ghastly wound on the man's back. Blood gushed out like a spring. When Momo came closer to check, he had died of blood loss. Momo's face changed greatly, looking up at the alley where the man rushed out. Find a place to hide and ensure your safety. I'll go to the front and check. Mr. Momo. But before she shouted, Momo had rushed into the alley. At this moment, something shot out from the alley and stuck to Lui Yun's arm. Don't tear off this talisman, it can protect you. Remember, find a place to hide. It was a distant voice. Lui Yun opened her mouth, glancing at the talisman on her arm and the dead man on the ground. She stepped back subconsciously with a frightened face. Clang! It was the sound of something being touched and falling to the ground. In the eerily quiet street, this sound was particularly clear. Lui Yun felt a chill coming from her back. She turned back suddenly and saw someone hiding in another alley. Lui Yun walked over carefully. There was indeed someone hiding in the alley. The man covered his body with the basket, but the basket kept shaking because of his trembling. Lui Yun took a deep breath, grabbing the basket and lifting it up forcefully. Monster, 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 don't kill me, don't kill me. She curled up and hugged her own body as if she was crazy. She kept saying the same words. Her face was pale, Her body was muddy, and her body was trembling. Luo Ayu. Don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me. She didn't seem to realize that someone was approaching her, she just hugged her legs tighter in fear. Looking at this filthy woman, Lui Yun's pupils contracted gradually. The air was filled with the smell of blood, and it was getting thicker and thicker. Momo stuck the teleporting talisman on his legs, shuttling between the houses like a graceful bird. Momo felt the seriousness of the situation gradually. Along the way, he had already encountered quite a few corpses. It was obvious that they had all fled in fear from the same direction, but had not been able to hold on until they were rescued. Finally, Momo came to a place full of corpses in front of the clinic of Lui village. Screams came from the clinic one after another. He stood in front of the clinic. The scene in front of him was like a scene of Azura, making him feel cold all over. Momo walked quickly to a woman on the ground, squatting down, his fingers trembling as he wanted to touch her nose, but there was nothing. Terrified, he stretched out his hand towards another person who had fallen to the ground, but there was nothing. No. Momo suddenly raised his head, roaring like a ferocious beast, rushing into the clinic in a flash. Momo saw Yi Fei in the patio of the clinic. His palm penetrated through an old man's chest. His palm had completely penetrated through the old man's back. More than half of Yi Fei's face was covered in blood. Brother Mo, you're here. Yi Fei pushed the boss's corpse away from her arm, turning around and looking at Momo, showing a clean smile that didn't match the blood on her face. I'll be done soon. You? What are you? Momo felt his legs were soft, as if all his strength was drained. What are you doing? Doing what? Yi Fei wiped her hands and revealed an even cleaner smile, as if it was only natural. Of course it's to kill demons. Killing demons? Yi Fei slightly opened her hands. Brother Mo, I've found out that all the people in this village have the bloodline of demons. They're all the descendants of demons. Isn't it incredible? They're actually hiding here and reproducing. Luckily we found them early, otherwise these filthy things would mix in with humans sooner or later. Brother Mo, that's great, we found them out. Looking at Yi Fei's childlike smile that didn't match the blood, Momo's face turned pale. He felt that the chill in his heart was 10 times, 100 times stronger. Was this really the Yi Fei he knew, the Yi Fei he had talked with, the Yi Fei who was like a prince in a martial arts novel? Brother Mo, wait for me for a while. There are still 2 of them inside. I'll get rid of them and we'll be done. Then we can have a good drink tonight. Saying this, Yi Fei turned around, walking towards that house. Momo shuddered, instinctively raising his hand. Lightning flashed from his palm, directly splitting the path in front of Yi Fei, splitting the stone slab in half. Brother Mo, what are you doing? Yi Fei turned around with a puzzled look. What? Momo looked at Yi Fei inconceivably. You're asking me what I'm doing? I'm asking you what you're doing. Do you know what you're doing? The latter part of his words was already a roar. Yi Fei gave a start, looking at Momo's angry face. I see, Brother Mo, you must think I'm killing innocent people, right? You aren't you? Brother Mo, I've told you, all the people here are demons. Yi Fei said seriously. I didn't kill anyone wrongly, don't worry about that. Brother Mo, don't be fooled by the appearance of these people. Demons are the easiest to confuse humans. If you don't believe me, I can prove it to you. Yi Fei stretched out her hand and a stream of qi shot out. At the same time, a young man was sucked out of the house, and his neck was caught by Yi Fei. I'll prove it to you. No, without saying anything, Yi Fei clenched her hand into a claw, tearing the young man's body. The young man was cut open, and Yi Fei tore open his stomach. Brother Mo, see, I'm right. Chapter 1141. At this moment, Momo's only thought was to move his body and rush forward. He rushed in front of Yi Fei, grabbed her collar with both hands, and pushed her against the wall behind her. The momentum was so great that the moment Yi Fei's body hit the wall, the house seemed to tremble, and stone chips fell one after another. Brother Mo, what are you doing? Just like Momo's puzzlement, Yifei looked at him and asked the same question with almost the same tone. She grabbed the collar of Yifei's clothes and twisted it, tightening it around her neck. What do you mean by eliminating all evil, Brother Mo? What do you mean by making it transparent? Yifei's face darkened. Momo took a deep breath, gritting his teeth. You're just a lunatic who kills for fun. You're the scary one, you said. You still think these monsters are innocent? Yifei's voice was calm, as if he wasn't the one being strangled. These people, old and young, male and female, big and small, such a small one. Momo questioned with anger, even if they're monsters, they didn't offend anyone. What did they do wrong? They didn't hurt anyone. Dozens of years ago, there was a bacterial disease in this village. Yifei said indifferently. This disease was created by a charlatan and her foreign lover. They had many purposes. Do you know what the people of this village have done under their conspiracy? They sacrificed a living person under their instigation. Momo's pupils widened, and his tight collar seemed to have loosened a little. The one sacrificed was Louis Hai's mother, the owner of the hotel where we stayed. A living person died for a stupid reason. For dozens of years, this group of people lived like this, giving birth to children and enjoying their old age. Sometimes I wonder if this kind of evil could be diluted by time. Time could even make happiness bloom in the soil of evil. Brother Mo, do you also think that they should live in peace and continue with your so-called, this kind of peaceful life where they haven't done anything, where they haven't harmed anyone? Yifei's words frightened Momo. While he was hesitating, Yifei's palm landed on Momo's chest and sent him flying. He fell on the flagstone of the patio. You don't know? That little girl who entertained you, you don't think she's a bad person. What did she do? Momo covered his chest, spitting out a mouthful of blood, watching Yifei walking towards him slowly. He said, the doctor in this clinic is called Louis Chaosheng. He's the child of those two people. I don't know how your little girl knew this secret, and I'm not interested to know. But if it wasn't me, actually, even if I didn't do it, they would all have died. All the people here. What did you say? Your little girl plans to spread that kind of virus once again, so that those who made the mistake back then will suffer the consequences of their own actions. Brother Mo, you've been cheated. Impossible. Impossible. Nothing is impossible in this world. Were you bewitched by her or attracted by her pitiful appearance? Or, did you fall in love with her in the woodshed behind the hotel? You followed me. I'm protecting you. Yifei said indifferently, Brother Mo, you're kind and righteous, how can you be used and tarnished by evil? I was still thinking of having a good drink with Brother Mo after this matter is over. Yifei walked 2 steps forward, standing in front of Momo. Momo subconsciously moved backwards. Yifei heaved a sigh. Brother Mo, once the seed of evil is planted, it will only take root, germinate and grow. Even if it's cut off, it will continue to store itself, and then continue to germinate, grow and multiply endlessly. So, the best way to get rid of evil is to turn over the soil and dig out its seed. Only when it's eliminated from the source, it will be clean. Everyone in this village, even the seed of evil, will be passed down from generation to generation. It will grow more and more, and one day, it will be hard to eliminate it. So no. A man should bear the consequences of his own actions. Even if they made a mistake decades ago, they will implicate the future generations. Momo struggled to stand up. Even if evil will grow in the future, what are we, the people with power, supposed to do? Just stand there and watch? This isn't a reason for you to kill the innocent. Yifei, you're just a lunatic, I won't let you go. It's too dangerous for you to have power. So it's like this. Yifei sighed, looking at Momo and nodding. Her face sank instantly. So, you've been contaminated. Then, there's no need to stay. Momo roared. His hands shook, and dozens of talismans shot out from his sleeves. But Yi Fei was faster than him. She was even faster than the magical power he injected into the talismans. That bloody palm pierced through the talismans and landed on Momo's chest once again. Apparently, it had exerted a lot of strength. Momo only felt that his ribs were broken. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and flew out of the door. Yi Fei's strength was far beyond his imagination. He flew out and fell among the corpses outside the clinic. Before he could react, Yi Fei rushed out of the door like a ghost and sent out another palm strike. Brother Mo, when you reincarnate in your next life, you must make sure to be clean. At this moment, a figure rushed out and bumped into Yi Fei unexpectedly, so the palm didn't hit Momo. At the same time, Momo felt he was pulled up by someone, running towards the long street far away. Louis Yun. He didn't expect that the one who saved him was Louis Yun or the demonized Louis Yun. At this time, Louis Yun's demonized features almost covered her human features. "Let's go first," Louis Yun said in a hurry, pulling Momo and running out. Yi Fei didn't hit Momo, so she stood up slowly. Looking at the two running figures, she said, "Brother Mo, it seems you've been polluted, you're willing to be with a demon." Yi Fei exhaled. She raised her palm and struck out from a distance. 3 points returned to origin. A gust of wind swept over, and a terrifying force lifted the flagstones on the street. Finally, it hit Louis Yun and Momo hard. The two of them couldn't resist this terrifying power, and were sent flying away at the same time. Momo's eyes even turned black, and he almost fainted. After the temporary dizziness subsided, what followed was ringing in his ears. He tried to get up shakily, only to feel that the sky was spinning and the earth was spinning. His body was in tatters, and the pain was more than the sum of all the pain he had experienced in the first half of his life. Finally, his hearing recovered a little. The sound of footsteps came into Momo's ears. He turned around abruptly, seeing Yi Fei had walked to Louis Yun, stretching out her terrifying palm. Louis Yun fell on the ground, crawling with difficulty, looking at Momo in horror. "Don't," Yi Fei slapped down without hesitation. Louis Yun's body sank down a little. Louis Yun. Her body didn't move anymore. Momo knelt down on the ground feebly. "Brother Mo, I'm sorry." Yi Fei looked at Momo, a trace of pity flashed in her eyes, raising her hand. "Actually, I really like you." She walked to Momo step by step, stretching out her palm, aiming at Momo's forehead. "Boundless heaven and earth, borrow the power of the universe, Thunder God's edict, break!" A bolt of lightning struck down from the sky at that instant. Yi Fei's expression changed slightly. She immediately raised her hand and caught the bolt of lightning that was heading towards her. The thunderbolt exploded. Yi Fei seemed to be at a disadvantage, retreating several meters before stopping. At this moment, a figure landed on the ground, standing in front of Momo. It was a Taoist in green clothes, with long beard and messy hair, holding a wooden sword. "Master, why are you, bastard? Your call made me anxious, so I came here in the middle of the night, without even the time to do my hair. Fortunately, I'm not late." The Taoist frowned, looking at Yi Fei, who was not far away. "Your master Chang He of Dragon Tiger Mountain?" Yi Fei glanced at the Taoist in front of her. Taoist Chang He snorted, "Humph. I've never heard of the Ultimate Ruins sect, but I recognize your blood god handprint. You're really the evil remnant of the demon sect, committing heinous crimes as soon as you come out." "Ha ha ha ha, heinous crimes?" Yi Fei suddenly laughed with a twitch. "Heinous crimes? Isn't that what you said? We have to eradicate all evils, and evil intentions must be uprooted. That's what you said. I'm just following your instructions." "Bullsh *t. Taoist Chang He snorted, flashing out without saying more. Yi Fei's expression instantly turned cold. Facing Long River Daoist's attack, she did not panic. She took advantage of the situation and retreated while fighting. There were traces of fighting between Taoist Chang He and Yi Fei everywhere on the street. Yi Fei's terror was displayed in front of Momo. He was actually on par with his master, Long River Daoist. Momo took a deep breath, barely suppressing his injury. He got up and walked towards Luiyun. He just wanted to see whether this girl was dead or not. You. How are you? After turning over Luiyun's body, Momo found that she was still breathing. He couldn't help but feel depressed. Mr. Momo. Didn't I tell you to hide? What are you doing here? Luiyun's eyes dimmed. Momo sighed, saying in a low voice, Go ahead, I'm listening. What do you want to say? I couldn't restrain myself. Luiyun raised her hand with difficulty, grabbing Momo's clothes. I killed her. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it, I couldn't control myself. Don't say anything. Momo closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. Don't say anything. Mr. Momo, you said, once I killed someone, you wouldn't let me go, so I thought, instead of letting you come to me, why don't I come to you myself in this way? Don't say anything. That's good, don't say anything, Mr. Momo. I killed her, my dad, my grandpa, doesn't know, can you let them go, they have a hard life. I can't do anything. I beg you, don't say anything, it's so cold. It's okay. Momo hugged the girl tightly, rubbing her back with his palms, then grabbing her hands, warming them in his arms. It's okay. Iyun is a bad girl. It's okay. You're not bad. Momo lowered his head, her eyes were closed, and she was dead, lying in his arms with a crying face. I'm bad really. The long street was cold. The hidden rain started to fall again. For a long time, he held Luiyun, sitting here alone for a long time. After a long time, the rain didn't stop. But Daoist Changhe came back, walking to Momo quickly. Bastard you, master. Momo raised his head, looking at Daoist Changhe with a pale face and wet face. My heart is so cold. Life and death are predestined, don't blame yourself too much. Daoist Changhe said gloomily, You just came down from the mountain, you don't know much. Yi Fei was better than you in both scheming and strength, so you suffered losses. But you have to remember this and pay it back later. Why? She's dead. She died right in front of my eyes, and I couldn't do anything. Momo grabbed Daoist Changhe's pants, walking to him on his knees. Master, my heart is so cold. Daoist Changhe sighed. I'm not much better than you. I chased after Yi Fei all the way. Though I hurt her, she escaped easily and even killed 2 more people on the mountain. Alas, I'm old. On the mountain, 2 people. Momo realized something in an instant, sitting down paralyzed. He raised his head, the rain hitting his face. Ah! He let out a roar. I'm called Momo. I cut my hair short and left it in Lui village. Ever since that day, I set a goal for myself, and that was to find Yi Fei. All these years, my martial power has always been breaking through. As early as 5 years ago, my martial power even surpassed my master's. For a whole 15 years, I have always been chasing after Yi Fei. I met her several times but couldn't defeat her, so I escaped with serious injuries. Finally, 1 year ago, I hurt her. These years, Yi Fei didn't stay idle. Kelowna's Dao demon realm spread his legend everywhere. She had become the target of the 2 realms. Yi Fei even alarmed Shinryu and Xianyuan Palace. I knew that the true dragon was enraged and would definitely be able to capture Yi Fei. However, I had to capture this person before they did. 15 years later, I came to Lui village again. This place had long been abandoned. I saw her again at the place where I met Yi Fei. She was almost the same as that year. Her face was as white as jade, just like an elegant young master in a chivalrous novel. As for me, my hair had turned white and my face was full of stubble. Master said that my power improved too fast and I exchanged it with my life. I said, if I didn't exchange it with my life, I wouldn't be able to defeat Yi Fei, and I wouldn't be able to return her things. Wine, do you want to drink?